Intro. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Piercing. I'm here with Naj. How's everyone doing? We are on Playday 4 for Group A. We have coming up for the first match, Sevens Esports versus AGM. Well, technically, I guess it would be Esport. That's how I'm getting reading. Naj, tell me, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Ready to watch some games. Ready to see how these teams actually handle their penultimate play day. But either way, we've got some pretty phenomenal games today. Everyone's quite close in this group, so I imagine that we're going to be seeing some good scorelines. And well, I mean, we've had some tweets go out here and there and responses to ESA Cup, so we'll see how it goes.
Yes, especially between Element, Post Nation, and Minions. Let's pull up that standing real quick. But right now, we're only seeing a 1 point difference between those three, with Element on the top standing. And speaking of standing, to my knowledge, so far we have Flawless 7, LDL, E-Wave, and Mafia Squad who are already qualified for Stage 2. So, as far as this grouping, Group A, pretty much the standing slots for Stage 2 is all pretty much contestable up to this point still. They're not secured by any means. But yeah, that's what we've got going on for these teams. Still very high stakes for every team, although Element still has a little bit of an edge here. But let's go into the map bans. Let's see what we got for this upcoming map, shall we?
Deedy doodly. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Right now, we're going to be seeing well, the map band's on screen. We're going to be seeing Oregon as our first map, decided by AGM, as it does say sevens on the actual card, but it was decided by AGM, and the side was decided by the side of, well, sevens. Defensive start for sevens, so I think more than likely we're going to be seeing a fairly confident game coming out of them, especially on the defense and the way it's played. More than likely, quite a lot of aggression, and yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say about Oregon as a whole until we really get into the match, but we'll quickly have a look at the team cards, and I'll let you talk us through our first one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at those team cards really quick here. Fortunately, mine's not loading. I do apologize. So I'm going to read off these teams' names, starting off with AGM. We have Ollie MVG, Quake, Southers, Larlon, sorry, butchering again, Vapes, Spencer, Zora, and Sacred. And then for 7 esports, we have
Drum roll.
drum roll
We have
because I'm not loading.
Xerox. We have Ryuji, Snows, Kaizura, Scrim, Renaxium, and also Khan. But yeah, fairly strong team. Coming from the core of YOD and Odessa, as you can tell by the tags on the screen. Their best map in this series so far has been Oregon. So coming into this matchup, more than likely, I imagine we're going to be seeing a very, very confident, willing game to really take advantages from them. And I just think overall, we're going to be seeing quite a lot of alternative play styles, things like that. And when it comes down to Oregon as a whole, it's a fairly common map to be played by a lot of these teams. So I feel like more than likely we're going to have a lot of different strategies, kind of going back and forth. And
Yeah. So far, I've taken a look at the match predictions as well. We currently have AGM with the majority vote for winning this out, despite, as you've pointed out, Sevens Esport, this is their best map. So what do you think on that regard? Is that a coincidence that, that 7 Esports, despite this being their best map, is voted to lose? Or is there something going on more on AGM's side that might kind of explain that difference?
I think when it comes down to it, the side of sevens is genuinely a very strong side. And more than likely, even with the not the bans, even with the vote going in either team's favor. It really doesn't matter when it comes down to Oregon as a whole, because these teams are so ready. The skill difference is so marginal in this group that I believe that it really does not matter. But we're going to be seeing Ying go out first, one of those operators that's very, very commonly banned on this map by a lot of teams, even on PC, even on console. It really doesn't matter. She's one of those operators that is a huge nuisance when it comes down to Oregon as a whole. So taking her off the board is completely understandable for a lot of these teams. More than likely, we'll see Solace on the defense as well. Flores to follow, a ban coined by BDS once they actually started coming out as Alem's first stead. He's super oppressive as an operator, especially when coming down to trying to do this blue hold. On the defense, I'll let you quickly run us through those and what you expect to see.
So usually on defense, you're going to be seeing anything that's for probably wall denial or entry denial. There's Fenrir going to be that first ban. I would honestly probably expect, if they want to have a stronger take, probably some kind of shield op ban, maybe a bit of a roaming op like Solus. We have been seeing a lot of Solus bans frequently for anti-droning, just a bit more lurking, which Oregon's one of those maps. It's more corridory. It's easier to cut people off. But with that being said, there it is. I'm going to see a Solus ban here.
Yeah, Solus is a super oppressive operator when it comes to a lot of these maps, especially maps that have a lot of destruction on some of the sites. For example, on top floor and both of the first floor sites, she's one of those operators that can be super oppressive, break down an attack, and really just like play the way that any team just hates and well to attack against. And I think that is probably the biggest factor as to why she's banned. We do see an Azami and a Mirror on side for this basement hold, more than likely going to be quite aggressive from both these operators as a whole, alongside a Warden as well. We all see Warden and Wamai as those two big entry operators going to be hovering around, more than likely around blue and Pillar between the two of them. And then we also have Scrims on the mute. He's going to be placing down those mute jammers across that blue side, across that tower side, and more than likely going to spend the first maybe 30 seconds to a minute of the round standing around on tower stairs just to see if he can pressure out any of this drone utility play and see if he can maybe secure himself a free pick onto anyone trying to enter on the lower doors.
It's going to be tough, though, because keep in mind, Xerox with the one eye is the only thing actually denying utility from coming through, and we have so much utility from AGM to play bunker side if they so choose. We have Quake with flashes, Suther with flashes and a Nomad charges, flashes from Tix. There's so many options here for how they can clear this out. So, honestly, if they choose to do that route or go that route, it ain't going to be a hold for long. That is going to be a fight, but it doesn't look like that's the route AGM is going for here, opting for a kind of, I would say, more of a top-down approach, working away towards Freezer and Lobby, which with their composition, how it's currently oriented at the moment, being more towards, I would say, bunker side to an extent. I'm really wondering how S7 is going to adapt to this direction of push, as they don't really have much of a roamer presence so far.
Well, by the looks of things, it's going to be like a complete and entirely sort of full sight, sort of full turtle from the defensive side. And I mean, we saw very early in the round, Tix managed to get his way all the way through the Z corridor and through showers to try and get himself a bit of pressure on there. This Azami is going to be falling into a very quick engagement inside of Frieza now, as we do see the Ana actually get quite aggressive on those stairs. The hatches are going to be opened by the Hibana, and the Nomad going to be playing just above, getting that drone work through onto Frieza. And more than likely, we're going to be seeing quite a quick attack coming out of this team. They're getting a lot of drone work done. They're getting a lot of utility work done. More than likely, going to be trying to clear out these shields, play this hatch work, and see if they can actually get themselves some sort of entry towards the site.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult situation with how boxed in they are. At some point, like you said, they're going to have to take an initiative to prevent some kind of pinching, because with all the utility setup that AGM is getting almost for free right now, it can cause a lot of problems for defense. However, Xerox, our roamer that we saw earlier trying to spawn peek, still over by first floor, could do some really good damage here if he catches up just in time. Snow's going to go down. We're going to see Xerox run in, but get caught off by Vast over in security. Maxime going to be able to take Tix out. Now down to a 3v3, 3v2. Ruji taking Quake. Looks like they're going to have that site control, but they do not have control of the diffuser. Going to take some serious damage. by Ryuji. Going to be able to finish off Suther here and deny the plant, the roam, and the aggressive plays over from 7's Esports to contest those attacks, going very well in their favor for the first
Yeah,
round.
very, very quick. These teams kind of fell into that trade game where they were just kind of like throwing frags back and forth, and they were entirely relying on the gunplay when it came down to the attacking side. And I think when it came down to the actual execute as a whole, there was a couple whiffs, a couple little missed opportunities there when it came down to the engagements, and not really enough explosive utility to be able to clear out those keeper barricades, keep themselves in a much more dominant position when it came down to attacking the site in general. That freezer wall was pretty much completely open for them to take. If they brought along that Thinker alongside maybe a Buck, or even the Gon 6 on the Yana, in order to try and be able to clear those keeper barricades that are on top of the little island in the middle of Laundry, they would have been able to open up that soft wall, get themselves in through Laundry, and actually make their way in a bit more methodically than what they actually did. And as long as you're able to clear out the Warden on Highway, maybe try and clear him out with some nade utility, or even just pressure him with a quick double swing to try and get that trade game on the go, you can really get yourself in and have a lot of control of the site.
Unfortunately, right now we're having some issues that we're trying to sort out at the moment. So you get to see our pretty faces once again. But yeah, the thing I want to kind of point out for that first round that we saw, we didn't see all that much utility getting thrown there prior to those picks coming out, did we? I really didn't see a whole lot of flashbangs, smokes, really nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong, AGBM did ultimately get into sight with Nomad sitting on site, but they lost a fuser with somebody rotating around into bunker. It's too bad we didn't really get to catch that, but that looked like it was a massive hindrance to AGM's execution, having sight and no way to actually get a defuse going.
I kind of agree, but the problem is, like, the drone work was there. There was just no utility at all. They weren't, like, as you said, they weren't able to clear out anything. And once they actually got themselves into sight, they'd, like, sacrifice bodies for it. Obviously, they'd taken their trade game quite effectively. But once it came down to the final few engagements, it was a 3v2. You had the Nomad whipping the shots, and you ended up with a quick little cleanup from the defensive side. Moving on to the top floor, though, however, this time we are going to be seeing a bit more of a widespread across this top floor, and more than likely going to be seeing a bit more of a roam presence coming into the downstairs, possibly from this Mozzie when it comes down to who I could probably imagine doing so, but also we're going to be seeing somebody hanging around in that top tower area, possibly the Frost.
Possibly. It really all depends on what kind of dynamic 7 Esports wants to try to set up here, because second floor is always just so close in proximity. That's really what it comes down to, is for 7 Esports case anyway, how they can play together and stay alive. Zay going to be able to get some early damage onto Vapes there from the prone spawn peak, but only going to do very minimal damage there. Getting a little bit of an idea of where AGM is attacking from here, but they already have that tower control. They're pretty much everywhere right now. Going to be starting to get that tower control, getting those big tower walls open, going to allow them to get some presence on there very early on.
It's going to be huge. I think might have, if that brass mat's still there underneath that second breach charge or that second can opener that he put down on the wall, then it's very possible that he could just go jumping through that hole straight into it. I don't think you saw it on the drone if it is still there, and it could be a big difference maker in this round, but it looks like he's made his way into Attic already, and it's not going to be there as of this moment. He's going to find himself a kill onto the man himself that is going to be placing that frost mat in the initial engagement, and now we're going to be seeing Xerox on a bit of a flank play coming towards this armory stairs.
Right now, it doesn't seem like there's any information about him, so this is going to be a major here, being able to take ticks, but there's going to be another one over by Armory, going to miss those shots. We have one, that's going to be Vapes sitting over by bedroom door, going to try to peek out Xerox. A bit of damage coming out, going to finish him off, but the refrag coming in and Quake to clean up Siren from corridor. Very quick exchange of rounds, actually going in favor of AGM, despite having a good flank going for 7's Esports.
Indeed it is. 7's going to be actually bringing this to an equal 1-1 right now. As, I mean, I imagine that more than likely we are going to be seeing quite a lot of that aggressive play coming out of them. They are really trying to play that trade game. They aren't obviously doing too well as they did sort of struggle in round one. Well, I mean, they even struggled in that round as well as it came down to the final few engagements. So I think when it comes down to it, there's going to be a lot of aggressive plays, and one of these teams really needs to take the initiative here. One of these OGLs just needs to slow things down and try and bait out these players, these aggressive picks, and see if they can actually just secure a couple kills for themselves before they actually go in on their entry for the execute.
Yeah, right. I mean, at least from the side of Sevens Esports, I mean, they try to be a little bit more aggressive in the engagements that they were taking, trying to take that initiative to deny that bedroom control. But when you're losing that many players trying to execute that because that's kind of the goal of attacking, right? Is you either want to come out with a net positive when it comes to the exchange of gunfights, or you want to get control. And with them being down several players, sure, they may have denied that control by taking out Vapes, but the amount of players that they lost was just too much for them to come back from, resulting in AGM winning out that round. So that's one thing Sevens Esports kind of has to watch out for, is keep that control like they did there, trying to deny getting access to needed rooms for an execute. But just keep in mind, what costs are you building up trying to do that? I'm going to see Larry starting to push down from Big Tower. We got one over by Tower Hall as well. Just holding out, waiting for that drone to come out. It's going to spot Maxime here. Take that drone out. Ryuji able to take ticks as well in the process. It's going to be one less. Zay trying to take another over by Kitchen side. They know exactly where he is here. But that's going to be Suther rotating out here. Going to meet up with Larry, trying to take that tower control where there's still two people with a presence over there. I don't think she knows that Maxime is holding by this middle wall here. Is going to be able to catch one, possibly catch another. That's Suther and Larry down. That hidden angle costing heavily for AGM. Just able to hold it and cut him off, with Maxime taking another for a triple kill onto Vapes, walking his way into Kid's bedroom and just getting knocked out there. However, Quake's still on site, able to take Maxime out. Gonna try to go for a plant here, but with 3 defenders on their way, it's gonna be hard to win this. Able to take Sim as well, but gets caught out by the rotate, thanks to Ryuji there, to prevent any kind of opportunity to win it out that round and turn it around. 17 score, 2-1.
Very almost a big blunder from the side of Sevens there. I think allowing that Hibana into sight and not really checking that corner alongside after finding that Ash as well. And I also think that the side of AGM are really struggling, because looking at the sort of roster lineup they're bringing, the way they're playing, obviously now we're going to be seeing the Thinker come out, but they were bringing along that Hibana for versatility, for the simple reason they wanted to try and open things up for themselves and try and maybe clear out any sort of utility as a whole, but they didn't have any other hard breacher. So bringing along that Hibana means that you're relying on those can openers if you're going to use the Hibana for versatility. And if you're not going to be using the Hibana for versatility and instead going to be using it for the breach, you've still got no explosive soft destruction. Apart from the Ash, who has 2 of those little things that aren't really going to do a grand amount. Especially if you want to apply vertical pressure, or you're playing against an Azami, which you have seen in the first round. It's one of those situations where you just need to think, like, stop and think, bring along those methods of clearing out those keeper barricades, clearing out castle barricades that might be in the field, because castles are very common operator brought along in Oregon a lot of the time, and it's just not being seen. We are going to be seeing this blitz play alongside the Amaru, who's going to be entering in through top tower, and more than likely this is going to be a very heavy bunker and backstairs hold from these attackers. They're going to be trying to clear this out as quickly as they can.
We might see Vapes be able to take one here. However, going to get shotgun out instead. The shotgun diff with the refrag from Zay, holding it out. We're going to see one get taken out over by Elbow as well. There goes Maxine. Going to have that elbow control. Lose the rear stage control there, as we do have one playing over there. But right now, they're not looking too bad. Flash is coming out. Snow's going to be able to take Quake out. Now a 3v3. Lion Scan coming out. Zay taking some serious damage here. Thought Tick's able to take him out. And Suther to clear out Zay Rocks for a fast-paced sweep onto basement.
And that's what we want to see. Using those nades, using those flashbangs, getting yourself into bunker early. Obviously, you lost that player very, very early on the back stairs, but that sold that player's position completely the moment you got control of blue. It was a lucky pre-fire onto the mirror, if I'm going to be completely honest, that secured a kill on the E-box area. And more than likely, the Ram probably should have lost her life as she was rotating over to the door because the mute was still hovering around in the corner next to the mirror. But either way, it was so good from the sides of AGM to actually just get themselves in, try and play that aggression, and see if they can win out these gunfights, use the utility, for example, the nades from the knock onto the pillar door in order to make sure that nobody was pushing too aggressively, the flashbangs onto the mirror window in order to clear that out and make sure that player wasn't able to take a swing as early as, well, he wanted to. And I think it just overall made it very, very open for the side of AGM to actually be able to come out and win out that round.
And absolutely. And this other thing I kind of want to point out as well, with the way AGM played, they pretty much knew the entire composition of 7's Esports there. They knew, except for Maxime on the Cade instead of Azami, it was pretty much the same kind of setup, and they saw the gaps in bunker when they had the diffuser player pushing into bunks and how they didn't really have a whole lot to kind of stop them from stampeding in, which is exactly what they did. And obviously from how it played out, it paid off very well, but doesn't look like 7's Esports is going to give them that same type of opportunity, as we have Xerox over all the way in attic rear stage, along with, I think that's Scrim holding by tower side as well. A much heavier roam presence to deny AGM from being able to take the same way they did again. But the thing I kind of wonder is, if they were to just do the exact same thing, go in bunker side, I feel like this composition would actually hurt that even more. But fortunately for 7's Esports, that is not what AGM is going to be going for here, opting instead to just try to deny the initial entry as much as possible as they attempt to close in onto site. But AGM still doing their due diligence, trying to clear out this second floor as much as they can. Drone's going to go out, not going to spot Xerox here. That could be a huge problem, not being able to spot him. There comes the peek onto the rotate. Xerox not spotting him quite yet. Now he's pushed all the way down to the rear stage. Larry about to take a fight over into blue stairs. Xerox is going to be able to get rid of Tix here. So far, not looking the greatest. And there comes Xerox, able to catch Larry just as he comes back onto rear stage. Like I said, wasn't properly cleared out, and AGM paid the price there. Just the drone narrowly missing Nitro, going to be narrowly missing Quake here. Not going to be able to do much damage there. Still on second floor, trying to make some kind of presence onto site, and they still got a player in third floor, a player by rear stage. Right now, 7's Esports is sitting comfortably because there's no real opening that AGM has here at the moment. And with a minute left, they're going to have to make an opening here. And they're trying to do just that. Moving down the freezer stairs. Going to be catching one by the head high hole, spotting them. But not going to be able to secure that shot as they rotate out. Going to be pushing out against the mirror. Catching Ryuji over by the rotate. Doing some decent damage here. Flash is going to be going out. But still holding on. 7's Esports not giving them any way. And there's the flank from Ray being Xerox unaccounted for and able to do the damage. Now 29 seconds, all up to Vapes here, who still is over by first floor. Going to be starting to push down here. Snow's trying to finish this out with a swing, but the wide swing from Vapes is going to create a little bit of an opening here. But with 15 seconds, she's going to have to move. And without the diffuser, still not a good situation. 7 seconds left. The pillar swing from Maxime, the teabag to take out Vapes. And that's going to be another round for 7's Esports here.
Indeed it was, managing to secure themselves that round, bringing themselves a little further into this game, getting themselves back into the lead, and more than likely, if you really don't come out of this sort of Oregon first half as a 4-2 on the side of the defense, you're going to be struggling, because, I mean, anywhere lower than a 4-2 on a defensive half on Oregon is very much a comeback story, and I think when it comes down to the way these teams are playing at the moment, it's not consistent enough for the side of 7's for them to actually be able to come out of their attacking side with a win. I think, if anything, the team that's playing much, much stronger right now and being able to take these positions a lot better is probably the side of AGM.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree because that's kind of what we've been seeing is a little bit of back and forth from Sevens Esports, and it's not exactly what you want on Oregon. Although, to be fair, it has been a bit 50-50 as far as the win delta goes, but it's still a little bit on the side of defense, so it's still beneficial to be able to pick up that round lead. But by no means is that a game ender if you don't get that, at least for Sevens Esports. But like you said, their defense has been shaky at a few points, and we've seen even a steamroll rush from AGM that was able to come in successfully. So if they're able to do that again, knowing full well the composition here, we could see AGM have a very strong second half.
I genuinely thought someone was about to get window bang there. That Valkyrie was very well in line with where that player was on the window. But we are going to be seeing a little bit of a rat entry coming in through the small garage side. That looks like the window maybe being prepped, or I don't even know. But the C4 goes out, isn't able to sing true. Sooth are going to be sitting around on this top tower, unable to really get himself down without the fear of being caught. But this man advantage on the defensive side is going to be very good for them. As he takes the swing, isn't able to find it. Valkyrie securing herself one more on the round.
Yeah, being able to deny that tower control is huge because they still have nobody else to be able to follow up. So that means you're going to have to repel in, take another risky fight. And that's just going to be a massive hindrance on the side of AGM here to try to get control. Going to be dropping the diffuser here. The run out from Maxime, very aggressive. But Larry able to catch that. Going to be able to repel in. She knows that that was who took out Suther here. So they do have a good chance of retaking that tower control. Honestly, if she's able to push all the way up in tower, that could cost Sevens Esports heavily here. That aggressive run out, because that's one less person that's going to be able to cover tower, which is such a critical component in taking second floor here. And with the amount of time they have, it's still very doable for AGM. However, Simon's going to be able to take Vapes. Larry able to get Scrim as well. Now down to 3v2. They've given up that attic. They're not going to be going for that, but they do have at least a general idea based off shield where one is, and Quake will be able to take that to get Snows out. Now up to Xerox and Ryuji. The Nitro going out. Not going to connect to anyone here. Quake's still up alongside Larry. And we have Quake, who's actually pretty much on site here, going to be able to cover for Larry, trying to go for a plant. But instead, we're going to see a little bit of aggression to try to push out anyone from bedroom here. So far, we do have one back into kids. Zay going to be able to finish Quake, but not without being very low in health. Larry going to try to take these fights and get that kid's control as fast as possible, but leaving them open to the bunkers. White Stair side for Sevens Esports to win that out with a 4-2 split.
Yeah, relatively questionable in my opinion. Realistically, just take your Twitch into the attic, play inside of the attic, and plant in the corner, very close to the attic door. And more than likely, I can imagine they actually come out of that with a win if they're just able to play the cover game. But because they weren't able to, and they weren't really trying to, they come out of this half on the defensive side with a 4-2 split, which is very, very good for the side of what is now the attack. The side of Sevens going to be wanting that 4-2 split as they've just received to actually get themselves in. Otherwise, they're going to struggle in the later half or the later end of the attack, because it's like at the moment, watching them play and watching these sort of gunfights go back and forth, this trade game, obviously it is generally going in their favor, but they're just not able to really translate it when it comes down to this mid-round. A very explosive start from what was the attacking side of AGM, and then a very slow middle, and almost like they're trying to imitate Wolves, they go for that very quick, fast, explosive execute right at the end, and it's just not been working for the side of AGM. So I think that as a whole is the entire reason that Sevens are actually able to come out of this with a 4-2 split. I don't think that at the moment Sevens are playing well at all.
Well, and the problem as well is, like, we're seeing Sevens run a lot of these standard compositions and with not a massive amount of variance other than positioning. But the thing is, and I would almost counter by saying AGM, despite knowing exactly how they're going to set up with running pretty much the same operators and compositions for the most part as far as utility placement, still just could not pick up the rounds they need to. Wow, that pre-fire from Quake, perfect timing there. Look at some serious damage onto Ryuji. The impact is stalled just enough to get down to Freezer Stairs. But pretty much back to what I was saying, the problem is AGM not being able to take these compositions that they know about and still not win, that's a problem. And if they can't get that adaptability on attack, that's gonna be possibly game here if they're not able to keep up adaptability and play consistently on the side of defense. But with that being said, we are gonna see a bit of a rendezvous on from basement here. Larry gonna be pushing up to backstairs with Quake falling back, trying to get a little bit aggressive here. Gonna catch Xerox on the sprint rotate there. 1 minute 38 seconds, still have to get down to the ground somehow, and that has not been the case so far. 1 minute 30 seconds, only one person down on each side, but losing a Twitch when you have a mirror on the board is going to just make the execute all the more difficult here, assuming that they're still up. Right now, not seeing too much as far as movement or setup here. Sitting relatively comfortably, but there comes one flash from Maxime. Not going to catch anyone. Guess it's just going to be stalling for the rotate. So far, we're just kind of waiting to see where the opening picks up for Sevens Esports to hop in. Vapes taking some good amount of damage there on the rotate, but nothing's really going to come of it quite yet. Ryuji, Quake, and Vapes all low here. But so far, they've still got him held off from any kind of basement presence. We haven't seen a drop down. We haven't seen a full push. So far, AGM's sitting quite comfortably here. And Sevens, with the remaining time they have, is going to have to figure something out and make a move. And there it is. We see 3 picks on the side of AGM and a complete shutdown as they just try to force their way in with no kind of really, I guess, accountability. I don't know. What just happened there? They kind of just all fell one by one like a set of dominoes.
I mean, the entry game was working very well for the side of AGM, and more than likely, what I imagine to really see in future rounds is a bit more of that control coming out of the side of Sevens. With the way they played in the lead up to this, it's kind of been a lack of being able to find those entry frags. And when it comes down to the actual round as a whole, once everything kind of unfolds, and they're left in that position to actually really get the execute, that's when they shine. And it's the side of AGM actually trying to get that execute or deny that execute that's actually working out quite well for them. It's when the trade game continues that it actually becomes a bit of a problem. And on the side of Sevens, you just can't really anticipate it. They're not adapting very well on the attack. They weren't really adapting very well on the defense, but that's because they didn't need to. And now we're in this position where it's 4-3, and things are kind of heating up on the side of AGM, with it being a defender-sided map.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I really don't know what was happening that round. It just kind of fell apart. I mean, they didn't really have any kind of setup. And this is what... And I'm surprised to see that with how close the standings have been, because that's usually, and I don't mean to demean by any way, but when I say this just comes from my experience, when you have teams that, you know, are just kind of sitting there outside ready to execute, and they're like, well, what do we do here? Who's going to push in first? That shows, like you've kind of pointed out, a weak coordination or team play. That's not what you want. Even though someone's probably going to get picked going in, you just have to create some kind of displacement for the rest of the team to go in, and we just didn't see that. They just kind of all went in on their own. So hopefully, for the sake of Sevens Esports, they could kind of turn that around, because that last round, just having everyone fall like that before you can even really get an execute going, that is not what you want at all. That should not be happening. So we'll see how that changes. There comes a Nitro with the ping. Going to be able to take 2 here. Not before, but right after for Ryuji to get a refrag. Still took it, but way too late. Losing Ash and Ace. That's going to be no more hard breach charges available, and a lot of soft breach utility loss. Actually, all of it, for a matter of fact, unless Gridlock still has that Gone 6, which hard to say if she does, because right now, it's not looking the hottest as far as round differentials here. They do have a lot of pressure on the side. Ryuji just walking in, going to be able to take a fight onto Bunks. This is the kind of position that we need to see here from Sevens Esports that they want to be able to pick up a round. Going to be swinging out onto Attic. Ryuji taking multiple on a triple kill here. Now down to a minute, but Larry coming back to take Ryuji, shutting her down. Now down to a 2v2 with Xerox still outside on that rappel. Gonna miss that drone sign. Gonna be swinging in, but not able to finish the shot onto Suther there. Now all up to Xerox, who's going to have to run all the way back up to main stairs. And now sitting outside of sight, going to have to find an opening to walk back in with Diffuser all the way in attic door, which they know she does not have Diffuser. She's going to have to either go around or force the way in, or maybe not. Going to be able to pick up that Diffuser there. She does have the opportunity to plant here if she so chooses. But so far choosing to advance, but there's going to be one prone, and that's going to be Suther sitting in the corner, just waiting for the walk-in as she over-aggresses, trying to clear out bedroom. That's what you call the bait and switch, done very well by AGM there.
I think realistically, as I said, the entire adaptability plan from the attacking side isn't there anymore. Like, they didn't need to adapt on the defense at all. They weren't ever given a necessity to actually have to adapt any of their play, any of their play style, any of their utility, even move themselves around from those keeper barricades that they played on the basement. And I think when it comes down to how they're playing on the attack, they're being given these opportunities and these slowdowns to actually be able to adapt and change the way they're playing, change their positioning, maybe even open a new breach in favor of a different one that is already open. And they just struggle at being able to actually change anything at all.
Yeah, it's really it's not been looking good as far as 70 Sports' attack. And I want to bring up what you mentioned is and what you mentioned is a very important concept. Sorry, I just got a little stammered there. Is a very important concept, which is the attacker's momentum. When you displace one, you want to reap the seeds of chaos as they try to reposition and catch them before they get that opportunity to lock up their positionings again. And Sevens Esports, this is the thing that they've struggled with significantly. Even when they get a man advantage, they slow down to a crawl, giving ample time for AGM to reset up, and that is costing heavily for these past I believe 2 rounds now. So that's kind of what 7 Esports needs to do, is keep that momentum up. Otherwise, they're not going to have a good chance. We almost saw Scrim able to take one off of that positioning that they weren't really accounting for, but just not able to take one so far. Maxime going to receive some heavy damage here, with Maxime able to take Vapes out, starting to get that presence close to sight, but Tick's able to shut him down before able to solidify a position of power here. Snow's going to be getting that wall open, just one step closer into setting up an execute here. But right now, there's that slowdown once again. AGM, ample time to adjust. However, Xerox going to be able to take that initiative and able to get Ticks out while now fully open. Larry's going to have to deal with this rear stage, but I don't think either of them know where each other is. Oh, but the swing right before the flash comes out, thanks to Larry. Going to be able to take Snows, but not before the refrag from Ryuji. They're going to be able to get Ryuji as a result. Now a 2v2 after the trades have gone out. They are on site right now, but no one has Diffuser at the moment. We're going to see the rappel up from Amaru to secure that Diffuser. They do have it in hand, but now it's just a matter of getting back onto site after losing that Diffuser from that swing. The flashbang going to be able to catch Suther, forcing him to rotate out, just giving a huge amount of control in favor of 7 Esport here. They do have an opportunity to plant now that meeting room is open. They just have to get in and plant. 45 seconds left. Now the plant begins, and now it's up to AGM to make that move. But actually getting off the Diffuser, and Suther able to catch both of them. Too little, too late, trying to catch that flank from Suther and retaking huge control.
Honestly, it's so questionable watching. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it at all. Like, the plant spot was bad. The cover wasn't there. You're not able to really do anything from that position. You have the Amaru, who realistically should have planted inside of the doorway. And when you've got that Ashe kind of hovering around on the soft wall that you've now got open, you can bounce between those two angles, and you can even peek the green corridor without having to show yourself to the rotate. And I think that is where like the attackers' adaptation is really going wrong. They're not changing their playstyle. They're not changing their positionings, as I said previous. And overall, they're just stacking up, trying to put the diffuser down in a bad position, then the Amaru taking the swing onto green corridor instead of taking the swing onto rotate, which is directly in front of her, while the Ashe is stood behind her, already in a position to peek the green corridor, and you just kind of leave yourself in this position of not trusting yourself to take 1v1s for a start, and then also not being able to stick out that plant and have faith in your teammate to get the cover on you. And that's where things are really going bad for the side of Sevens. That they've got no team play whatsoever. The coordination's gone completely out the window.
Yeah, everyone's kind of just trying to do their own thing, and that's kind of what's really causing so much grief here. At least if Sevens Esports was a bit more consistent on their defense, it wouldn't be so bad. But with a 2-round differential, AGM able to pick up, thanks to their ability to kind of predict these setups that Sevens Esports did and just absolutely obliterate it. That's really what gave AGM this opening here, because they have that 2-round differential and they're sitting comfortably with Vapes able to take Snows because they know pretty much exactly how Sevens Esports is going to play it out. And even if they do try something different, the team play is just not there, with Suthor being able to isolate Xerox as well. AGM is punishing these individual stragglers that keep showing up for Sevens Esports, to where even if they try something different with Scrim having a Monty, it's just not enough. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Scrim is all alone with Diffuser, trying to do something here, pushing up onto Bunker, leaving him open, and Ryuji able to ticks barely, pushed up onto Larry. That blue stairs presence, that's the team play that they need here, as they now have a much better situation. However, Monty with his back turn pushing all the way up to Pillar, now going to be down. The nade barely missing him. Double kill from Vapes onto Ryuji. Now all up to Maxine. I don't know why Scrim pushed up there, but regardless, that cost them heavily, losing their Monty player, because that in a post plant is almost always a free round. Even on, dealing with a Monty player regardless is always a nightmare in a post plant. And if they were able to keep them live, that would have been it. That would have been their round that they've been needing for a while now. But we're not going to see that happen, as Maxime, with only about 33 HP here, is going to have to try and force her way down into Bunker with Diffuser all the way in Pillar, which I'm sure they've spotted AGM has at this point. And with the Melusi to tell them exactly where she is, all they've got to do is hold and just not give her any ones here, which right now, AGM's doing a really good job of that. They're just waiting for her to make a move and then take the fight from there. And the nasty flick from Suthor to take Maxime out as she tries to sneak onto Pillar. Such a nice shot. How did she know? That was actually insane. Probably had intel on her. But regardless, very well placed shot. Able to knock Maxime out and shut down any chance of a comeback here, as we're now in match point.
Indeed, we are bringing up to that 6-4 scoreline, being able to just really apply pressure into this sort of match so far and actually be able to get such a substantial lead coming into, well, their attacking half. They've won 4 rounds in a row so far. That's insane. That's something that's borderline unheard of from, well, an attacking side on Oregon. You don't see anybody go through a full site rotation, get absolutely mullered on every single site, and then somehow have to try and pull things back together and actually get yourself an attacking round. It's insane. I know it's defender-sided. It should never, ever go this way.
No, absolutely not. It's, yeah, the way that these rounds have been playing out has just been very problematic for Sevens Esport. And even when they get a little glimpse of that setup, like they did pushing down blue stairs with Monty, there's always just some level of individuality that kind of comes in where someone tries to do their own thing without really any kind of team-based accountability. and it just ends in disaster. And that's what really shut down the momentum that they had built up. And there it is again. Vape's going to be able to take Xerox. Actually, I believe that was a spawn peek there. Very nice shot. Maxime taking some serious damage as well. Sevens Esports being heavily punished before they even get a chance to get in a building.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
They haven't managed to get themselves in the building yet. Vapes does manage to secure himself a double kill, and that's going to be so good. When your hard breach is 2 and 10, just stop going in first. But either way, Maxime finds one in return on the backfire, and Larry on his little roam play doesn't actually secure any more for himself in this round, at least, as he has managed to be so dominant in the previous. But as Maxime does make his way up onto those armory stairs, this could be the round for the attacking side. As much as they are down on that man advantage, they have managed to secure themselves one in return. Another one comes out on the defensive side, and now it's going to be 2 men left standing.
Yep, and right now with only 2 people, they're still stuck by a very deadly funnel here, and that's going to be that armory corridor with one all the way in attic and multiple holding out for a push past trophy room. There's no getting out of this. With only 1 nade and 1 flashbang, they're going to have to make the utility count, make it a little poke hold, try to see if they can catch someone, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. Suther just able to pop Ryuji right on the head off of that nice little tight angle. Now, all up to Maxime here. He's the only one left. Gonna be able to take out 1, but is he going to be able to finish the remaining 2? Those peak holes going to pay off here, but right now, he's still got some ways to go. He knows there's one in attic, but I don't think he knows where the other one is. Going to be able to barely spot Suther there. No way. Just exposing himself enough for Maxime to down, but not out. There comes a Nitro, and he's going to get caught out before he's able to get away. That was way too close for comfort to AGM there.
Super close for comfort, as you said, but they got no rounds on attack. 0. Nada. That's insane. You have a 4-2 defensive path. You translate that onto the attack, and nothing happens. It's crazy. 7-4 going the way of AGM. I really don't know what to say. As I said, there was no adaptability. There was no team coordination, and overall, they just look like the better side. There's not much else to it.
No, not really. And the thing I want to point out is AGM here, they did their attacks pretty decently, and they pretty much showed exactly what I have tried to preach to many teams back when I used to play competitive, and that is your defense alone is not going to win you games. At some point, you're going to have to win an attack if you want to get that secure a game. And while Sevens Esports did have a 2-round lead, they were able to lock up their sights at least pretty well, even though they ran pretty much the same setup. You can't really do that for attack. At some point, you've got to change it up, but you also have to trust in your team. And I feel like for Sevens Esports, they didn't have that trust. AGM had a little bit of that weak adaptability as well, but at least they kind of trusted in their teammates. And every time they lost one, or at least for the most part, there was usually a barrage of trades that came shortly after, and they were able to trust their teammates to take initiative and deny further control from Sevens Esports, which we just didn't see for the other side. So I guess that 75% vote in favor of AGM wasn't really that much of a coincidence there. Hard to say, but with that being said, you got any more thoughts before we move on to the next match?
Yeah, definitely not. A very strong group when it comes down to the sort of standings as a whole. I mean, Minions, pretty sure previous winners of the last season. Obviously, a little bit of roster changes have been ongoing with them. But either way, it's like you can't really take a lot from a map like this where you've got Sevens either clearly having a bad day or just struggling against a team that's just better coordination wise than they are. So it's one of those move forward, keep your heads held high, give yourself a pat on the back for actually being able to get those 4 rounds on defense, and just look back over the match. Give yourself a bit more of a standpoint as to where it was going wrong, what was going wrong. But we will be joining you again for Before Effect versus Element sometime very, very soon.
See you in a bit.
Hello and welcome back to ESA Cup Season 7. We're going to be casting the second game of the day between Before Effect and Element. I'm joined once again by Piercing.
Hello.
Nice to see you. How are you feeling about these games? How are you feeling about these two teams coming up against each other right now?
Right now, I'm very surprised by the map that we have. We'll go over that in just a second, but I do know actually, I'm going to be 100% honest. As far as these teams go, standing concerns, I'm kind of scared that we're going to have a potential blowout here because as you can see, Element all the way at the top with a round differential 2 for 7 points, Before Effect with a differential -4 for 3 points. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit scared as far as these teams play, and I have seen Before Effect a little bit in the past, but I've definitely seen more of Element, at least before. That name just really rings a bell to me, so it's like, as far as familiarity goes and team wins, gonna be honest, I'm a little scared for Before Effect. I'd hope I'm wrong for a close match, but I don't know. I'm not too familiar with EU and console.
So do I. I really hope we do have like a relatively close matchup between these two teams. But one thing I do want to really consider is Element do have one overtime loss, 8-6 on Oregon versus Minions. And I also want to say that the weird thing about Element so far is the only map we've seen from them in this series, in this season so far, is Oregon. They've played 7-5 against Fourth Nation on Oregon, who are second place right now. They went 7-5 on Oregon against Sevens Esport, who are the bottom team in this group. And I mean, with them only really playing Oregon, we can't really make any assumptions as to how they're going to play on any other map. So, speaking of which,
Valid.
you want to take a look at our map bands?
Yes, let's take a look. Now, this is something that I'm a little worried about because of all the maps in the rotation, right? The two maps I don't know because they've changed or were added is Nighthaven and Consulate. And ladies and gentlemen, we are on Consulate, which I never would have thought I'd seen the light of day of as a caster, at least because it's banned so overwhelmingly after the rework. But here we are. We're going to be playing on Consulate with Before Effect starting on defense. What do you think of Consulate? I haven't played it actually.
Well, something I can imagine overall from these teams is, well, the Atlanta Major is going on right now. Everyone's going to be watching it. Everybody that is in comp in general is rooting for a team that is going to be playing at the Major. And obviously, with the top 8 teams, you've got one of the teams being G2, right? And this might be a bit of a tangent for some people, but bear with. The side of G2 as a whole have played Consulate several times during this major.
Really?
And with G2 being one of the most prolific organizations within Siege and one of, literally the most established organization when it comes down to their wins, their SI wins, their talent as a roster, and how well they're doing in the major right now. I imagine that a lot of these strats are probably going to be taken away from games that have been played against or with them in the actual lineup as a whole. So I think some of these strats, especially like the shield on vending on top floor and the sort of high pressure sort of gameplay that we do see from like the frag potential and things like that, the very fast paced plays we saw from Virtus Pro in the Atlanta Major as well. I think it's going to be one of those games where we see a lot of that. And as we can see on the social vote, Element have an 85% social vote.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe that standing isn't everything. We'll just have to see up in this upcoming match. But before we get started, because teams are just about ready soon, let's go over the team cards really quick. Starting off with Before effect, we've got Skills, Aaron, Pine, Brew, the one burger guy, that is very long, Blaine, Blakey, and Tyler. And then for element, we have Shimisu.
Yeah, Shimizu. We have Zoro, Strobo, Reclay, alongside Yannick, Daniel, Klazari, and Always. And as I said, like very, very early in this, Element have only played Oregon in this season so far. So this is going to be very, very cool to see how they do decide to play this map, how they decide to structure themselves. And I think it'll very much come down to who has the better sort of team play and strategy as a whole on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, I don't even know what to expect personally because I've never actually learned the callouts on this map. So we're gonna see a lot more of Naj this time around. Good lord, I don't know this map.
It's
I don't even
okay.
know the bands. They banned Monty.
Monty,
Now-
a very good ban. Something I am going to quickly bring up is this map, because it was made a lot shorter, the corridors were made a lot narrower, they added a lot more smaller rooms because they wanted to minimize the sort of broadness of Consulate as a whole. Monty has become a very staple operator because you look at a map like Skyscraper where Monty is so powerful at being able to get through those narrow corridors, isolate those players in those small rooms, things like that. Monty is a huge pick for either of these teams, and I think him going out straight away is going to really shake up how these teams are going to play. Ram also going out, a lot of vertical pressure.
These bands, I have never seen a map with these kind of bands. This is gonna be truly an unforgettable match. I've seen some weird bands, but never in my days of casting in competitive have I seen a Monty band on a new map. That's a first.
I'm gonna be completely honest. This is the first cast I've ever done where I was genuinely worried we were going to get an Amaru ban. And hopefully we'll see why coming into this match. But there has been a lot of play in the Atlanta Major that has revolved around Amaru on this map. From a CEO plant on the window, a rush plant involving Ying and Finker and other sorts of operators of the sort, like Sens, to just yeeting in through connector, throwing some candelas in, and seeing if you can get some early picks. It's like it's such a strong map for an operator like that, and even trying to get early pressure onto Printer, especially because no one really plays in Printer anymore because of how small the room is. So I think that was one of the bans that I was genuinely worried about getting, and something that is going to be a real shock to some people that haven't really looked into the strategy of this map is you see that wall that Mirror just made a vaulting rotate next to? There is going to be a mirror window facing from the CEO site in towards the main sort of console site.
Gotcha, yeah. No, they definitely changed up this map a lot from the rework. Gonna see heavy topside presence from Before Effect here. Not a whole lot in the spawn peeking department, which is definitely a breath of fresh air because this map used to be notorious that. We're also gonna have a Claymore out by the front door as well for some heavy roams, but I don't think Before Effect is gonna really go for that here. Oh, but as I say that, we see a run out immediately from Aaron getting shut down by Strobo. Wow. Talk about one heck of a first pick here.
Pressure coming into admin very, very early. The Buck going to be making his way through and watching that rotate on towards vending. There is going to be a warden hanging around over there, and you see that vending shield that I was talking about. Normally is placed over a little bit more on that right side, but the Wamai going to be making sure to deny as much as possible. The Ash Charge does go in the end and clear out that shield, but more than likely a lot of pressure going to be coming out of this warden in the remainder of this round from YT.
Yeah. No, absolutely. A lot more pressure here. Even Cleesary trying to get some early or fast presence on all the way from manager's office. Not being able to catch Allison quite yet here. But they're very much closing down on site already. Just 12 meters away from being able to walk in and plant. The Mira getting popped here We're seeing Element being in possibly prime position, go for a plant. Oh, almost a very clean headshot. Was not able to connect, but Strobo with the open mirror able to catch Allison out. Right now, not looking great is Blakey out with a flank, able to take Sheamus out as well, moving up onto Spiral Stairs. It's not looking the greatest here as Blakey still continues to push on, trying to catch another. Gonna be able to catch Klazeri as well. Now it's a 3v2, however, with the attack clapping back very loud and quite effectively to an extent. However, with more defenders being lost, is now up to Zoro, who is the last one alive. Diffuser still in hand, 55 seconds left. Gonna have to get out of this copy room funnel here, and with one watching the prone, Zoro's gonna have to try to go out, rotate, see if he can pick somebody off on the rotate or out in the open. But so far, before effect, playing quite comfortably here, just holding their positions, not giving any grounds here. Right now with 30 seconds left, gonna have to start finding some openings eventually here. Gonna be hopping through that wall. It's gonna be one vending, but still holding the ground here. Gonna be taking that engagement. Witty able to take Zoro out for that round.
Yeah, very well played from the defensive side. The opening pick, as we saw on that main door onto the Wamai, denied a lot of active utility throughout that round. And I think if his run out was successful, he was able to get that gridlock, that sort of thing, there would have been a lot more pressure on that vending side, especially to try and deal with that shield. Like, because having those sort of magnets sort of hovering around above the doors in the corridor, I think it could have been a very big threat. They did manage to deal with the mirror windows very, very effectively and things like that. So I wouldn't feel too disheartened if you're on the side of the attack right now. But coming into the rest of this game, I think we need to see a bit more of sort of vertical pressure, these nades from below, these sort of people clearing out the roam game and actually being able to get a bit more of an attack from multiple sides rather than just having that man on his own, isolated on Spiral, and those people trying to push to admin.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, no, that flank wouldn't have had as much devastation from Blakey if they were kind of more spread out, like you said there. Especially on a map like this with so many nooks and crannies, which the 4 effect took great effect for. I feel like kind of diversifying your positioning there and fortifying those other positions that they didn't really have there would have probably at least mitigated that effect of that roam and even enabled a refrag instead of a double or a 2K like we just saw there on the last round. We're going to have Shimizu on an early push out into electrical room. What can we expect here? What is the plan of action for Element here?
Well, as you can see, they brought along this blitz. They're going to be taking they're not going to be moving too quick, is something that is a little questionable of a call out for me to make for some players in the chat. But they're not going to be moving too fast. They have this blitz, and he is going to be trying to just apply pressure gradually through this CC side and along these corridors because of how narrow they are. Normally, you would bring along a Monty to try and do this, but obviously the blitz is the next best thing. He doesn't quite realize there's going to be a man hovering around on Spiral Stairs, and I think this could be his death, as he does make his way through, gets shotgunned in the back of the head, and now it will start to stagnate a little bit. You've got this buck upstairs, you have managed to find a pick onto a defender, but that long-range shotgun shell taking out the gridlock is going to be a big foot in the door for the attacking side.
Man, when did they put slug rounds into shotguns? The range on that shotty, goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be Strobo out from that long-range snipe. I thought shotguns were supposed to be spread, not freaking Boss G's. However, with that being said, Reclay going to be able to take Blakey out here. Allison trying to hold off Reclay, but not going to be successful here. Taking him out. Witty going to be able to get Klezzery in response. Going to be the last one out. Trying to prevent them from getting a plant down. However, so far, not making it onto site yet. So they do have that advantage of knowing that they're going to have to force their way down. Zoro going to be rotating. Almost gets caught out by Witty, but still alive. Witty out in the corner, trying to take the fight onto Reclay, but not successful.
Yeah, extremely well played from the attacking side that time. They were a bit more versatile, put themselves in a bit more of a widespread position. They had that buck upstairs alongside another player, I believe. I don't quite remember who it was. But either way, you had that sledge, that gridlock, alongside that blitz down inside of CC. just to try and apply that pressure along the backside and really just sort of filter out these defenders into a bit more of an isolated position. And I think that was very, very well done by them.
Protect your bombs from being defused by
Yeah, the
attackers.
ability to cut off, especially on a map like this or on a site like this, because that's the thing about basement sites, right? You have the advantage of there's not a lot of openings to work with, right? As far as mobility for the attackers, but it also comes to the detriment that defenders, they have nowhere to run. There's no rotating out. There's so many lines of sight you can get cut off from. It's all just super close, super uncomfortable, and Element took that fact to full effect. Although Before Effect did have some great moments where they were able to shut out some staple players in the composition, such as the Blitz there. But unfortunately, they just got snuffed out, like you said, with those cutoffs and isolating. They did that very well, at least Effect did, for winning that round.
Yeah, pun intended, but the after effect of having these rotates sort of hovering around inside of CC was actually a big part of their detriment when it came down to surviving this round. Those footholds, something that we did see from Virtus Pro at the Atlanta Major, is going to be something that the Legion plays on to try and get a bit of denial onto that main door, and that's something you can use in your ranked strats, boys. This wall, very easy to destruct with shotguns. You are going to be seeing probably much easier done just by doing a bit more of a vertical, like, two-shot. But either way, gets herself in on that gridlock and is going to be able to get a bit of pressure on that backside of CC. We are going to see the Azami and the Goyo. Oh, Goyo? What am I? Upstairs.
The attacker's bomb.
Dang, I didn't know we had a Goyle. That's crazy. But anywho, we're going to see Blakey with the shotgun once again. I'm going to be able to take out Zor here, holding out onto basement. We're not going to have a blitz for Element this time, but regardless, still going to be losing one early onto the shotgun. Those shotguns, ladies and gentlemen, if you ain't picking them up, you're wrong. You're not winning as many ranked games as you could be. Very strong right now with the buffs to the effective range. Gonna see a bit of above presence as well, but right now it looks like Element's just going for a straight shot in. At least at the moment they are. So far, just a fight waiting to happen. There's one and a trade in the process as well. Looking very close here. Ooh.
Yeah, the head holes there that they did end up losing the mute through, very drifted away from by a lot of teams, because they having those head holes open, realistically, if you lose the player that's going to be pressuring on that side, you're going to have no way at all of being able to get through the rotate safely. And obviously, if the main breach stays closed, and obviously you need to use that to get through into the cafe site, you're left with the only choice really just being going through the door. And if you're going through the door, you can be seen very quickly from the right side of the actual site door on the other side, and it just means that you get very isolated very quickly, and you're in a bit of a scary position. But they are just going to be pressuring either side. Trades come, or I was going to say trades come back and forth, but never mind. Allison is going to find a couple for themselves, and a perfect 3K for Allison in that round, managing to find the sledge on the back of that site.
Man, why can't I do that on PC? Very nice shots from both ends, even though Allison, or I forget who the other person was, wasn't able to secure that shot. Both were lined up perfectly. Very rarely do you just see a matter of who shoots the shot first, and both of them with the delay in their shot was very close, but one shot sooner than the other, and that's really what mattered there. I mean, it was still close either way, even with that pick, which would have been a very nice shot. It still would have been, you know, a 1v2, having to push all the way out to garage side, and that would have made for a bit of a tricky situation. But regardless, we are seeing a much closer game than we really anticipated, or at least the votes had anticipated, being 15 and 85. And right now, it's Before Effect that has the lead. If you've put your channel points into Before Effect, man, you're going to be getting a lot out of this. Do we do that? Do we do channel points? We should.
I think we do. I think we have channel point votes that go on the stream. It depends if we do have a board member around or an admin to kind of just whack that on there. But it does look like we do have them. We have people that have predicted Before Effect. Mr. Rednax himself has got that one under on his name, and also.
Oh my gosh!
On the opposite side. Oh,
I guess I guess this is a map still for spawn peeking. Oh my gosh. The CEO spawn peek. That is so unfortunate. However, we will see Shimizu get res, and in exchange, Aaron get it taken out. So, don't get me wrong, that spawn peek was nasty, but it didn't go unaccounted for as Aaron was immediately knocked out afterwards. When he tried to deny CEO, gets cut off from the double repel thanks to Klezari and Shimizu. Very nice cutoff. This is the type of coordination and team play that you want there. He could have easily gone away if it wasn't for that. Klezari getting taken out by Allison on a very nice headshot here. Now down to a 3v4. Both teams playing out very, very aggressively here and with good team play too. At least for Element with Before Effect just getting very good shots and favorable 1v1s here.
Zorro very sneakily making himself just get a little bit further through onto that main breach. Gets a beautiful little headshot onto Allison there, and that's going to be one of the star players down for the defending side. C4 misses, isn't able to get itself over onto that main breach
so
area,
nice.
and now we're going to be seeing this 2v4 unfold as they're going to be getting themselves into position to go for this post plant and get the round under their belt on this attack.
Yeah, their initial entry has been so good. Element really on top here. All they need to do is just get onto site. But with Maxi on the mirror and Blakey still stirring up some trouble over by Secretary, it's going to be a little bit difficult. But regardless, going to be able to walk in. Now getting that plan going. Maxi trying to find a way to contest it, but it's not going to matter. Taking Strobo, taking some serious damage thanks to the Goyo, but still able to barely plant before it's too late. And with that, Shimizu, 3Clay going to be able to finish it out for Element to win themselves another round.
Yeah, the problem with that, they're having the Goyo on side and actually popping it out as late as he did, it means that when they actually get that plant down, you're minimizing your... So they got it down with about 2 seconds left of the plant, if I remember correctly. So if we take off that 2 seconds, you pop that Goyo, even if you get the kill and he overcommits to that plant, but he gets the plant down, you've taken away 18 seconds of your 45-second timer on that plant. And you've got to now go and find those kills and get yourself onto the diffuser in time, so you can't even go for that early defuse to bite out these players.
Yep, that sacrifice, even though it wasn't really a sacrifice there, Shovel was still able to narrowly make it out. That is exactly what you said. That's what makes diffusing, that's what makes the later part of attacking so deadly. Being able to get that plant down, you know, you got the timer in your face, now against you instead of for you, and you just it's like a list of things that have to happen in order to win. You know, even when it's unfavorable, right? You're at a significant man disadvantage. That plant is just such a powerful game changer for attackers. So even though it was they had good fortifications for effect in holding down, that ability to get that plant down pretty much forced them off of their very powerful fortifications, which caused them inevitably collapse. But we're going to see Replay already down into main entrance, trying to get somebody off guard over by first floor. But right now, we're not seeing too much of a presence from Before Effect at the moment. However, Witty will be able to take Zorro out. That's going to be their hard breacher down very early into the round. What do you think? Do you think that that's going to put a major dent into Element's execute here?
Well, I mean, yes and no. You've managed to take out that ace. That's a very big deal. Taking out the ace is one of those picks where now they're not going to be able to get that main breach open. Now, if the round plays out exactly the same, you're not going to lose that mirror that's in the position of being able to sort of stand around behind that desk and take the engagements along the long angles towards admin. But it's like, realistically, you've also taken out one of the lowest KD players, and with this game being this game being as frag based as it has been so far, it's probably going to be a bit scary. This vending shield is the one that I was talking about, the one on the left side, close to that vending machine, just being able to play in that corner. And this corner is so powerful as Aaron is able to find one. He has just taken himself away from that room right now just to keep himself safe. Replay finds one from below, and it's exactly what I was talking about before, having that vertical pressure even on the top floor site, just being able to isolate these players, find your picks. It's still a 3v3, so they're not completely in the bin on the defending or the attacking side. but they do need to deal with Aaron here if they're going to be able to get themselves in with a win on this attack.
Yeah, with 2 discs and a major cutoff, it's going to be looking tricky here. Shimizu going to be able to spot Mackie, but not able to finish the pick. The Nitro goes out, does some damage here, but the run out to finish him off with Strobo able to take Aaron as well. Now up to Blakey here, waiting for the peek from replay. Going to be able to get that pick. Strobo now with the plant down. Shimizu waiting for Blakey to just come out into the open. Not able to finish him off, but gets cut off by Strobo regardless in the post plant. Element able to take it back after pushing through. It doesn't even have to take the shield down.
Amazing play from the attacking side, managing to isolate these players. They got that vertical nade. Obviously, I think, in my opinion, the Sledge probably could have pushed from that admin side to try and help with just nading out that shield. The Dekebi could have used some of her flashbangs or EMPs, whatever throwables she decided to bring along to try and clear out those magnets also. I just think it was a little bit misplayed from the attack. But overall, they managed to come out with a win just based on the frag potential as a whole. And it's pretty much as I said, like with how frag-based and frag-heavy this game has been so far, I imagine that neither team is really sort of at the ropes once we get one of these opening picks go either way.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And although Element does have that round lead so far, there's no saying that Before Effect doesn't take it back. Plus, with the rework, I think still being relatively new. I don't know. I haven't played like Siege, like played it in like almost a year now. I'm not sure if really the data's out for how much of a attacker-defender bias this map has. So ending it on a 3-3 split right now isn't completely off the table, or even if it doesn't happen, isn't really the end by any means. With both teams playing pretty well so far, ending up being a lot closer than I think anyone could have predicted here. Gonna have that Claymore on that run out once again. Seems like Element's really accounting for some aggressive roam presence, which isn't too unexpected. We have seen that before on a side of Before Effect, although the effect it's had is varied. But with that being said, we are going to have some basement presence trying to clear out.
Just to answer your question quickly, according to the statistics from the Atlanta Major, where Consulate has had its most playtime of all of the leagues, we are seeing a 61% defender win rate. And that's on PC. It could be very different on console, but we are just seeing so much frag-heavy sort of potential. And I believe that realistically, with defenders having so many sort of avenues to be able to hold these angles, they've got these mirror windows, things like that, the frags definitely should be in favor of those, well, in favor of the defense. But at the moment, they just haven't been.
Oh my gosh, that exchange was so deadly. The shots from Shimizu were absolutely insane. Oh, but Klezery clapping back, able to take Aaron out. And another flick onto Allison as well. Great shots on Fit Element as they bring it down now to 2-4, I believe, as we go into the swap. What nasty exchanges there. Goodness.
Yeah, the second most defender-sided site, or the second most defender-sided map in the rotation at the moment, according to the most recent statistics of the PC majors. Only about 6% behind Oregon right now. But even then, I mean, you could say, well, it hasn't been played much though, has it? Well, 110 rounds is what we're talking about right here. Quite a lot. So when it comes down to how this map's played as a whole, I believe that it could have a very decent switch up coming into this half. And I think if the side of the defense now actually are able to play as formidably as they have been on that attack, I imagine that we could be seeing a pretty big blowout here.
Yeah, it's starting to look more like a blowout now. Having that statistics in mind, Element be able to pick up that many rounds with a 2-round differential, that's not good. That is really not good. I kind of thought it would be a bit more 50-50, but yeah, with the differential that massive, and now some information about how to play this at a pro league level coming out from what we've seen with the Atlanta Major, yeah, Element is taking full advantage of that with Before Effect, only able to pick up just 2 rounds. However, right now, Before Effect getting a lot of information here for a fast take onto Office side. If they can get that presence nailed down, they could, possibly see a sweep here for this first round if they're able to move efficiently here. But so far, it's a much slower pace than what we saw. Oh, but the run out! Oh my gosh. That could have been a recipe disaster. Blakey getting taken out. That's going to be their hard breacher. But Mackie was fast on the response. That could have been disastrous if that refrag did not come in. But still, losing hard breach is not what you want. Klesry going to be taking a lot of shots and damage there. Coming out, going to have to fall back over to Spiral Office here. Now having that full administration office control. We're at a 1-for-1 so far with 1:45. Everyone's pretty much in the building right now. Maxi going to be able to catch Klesry off of the feed hole angle, using that to his advantage instead. Now with 1:35, they're going to be able to spot the Kate over by the table, force him out to rotate. Not going to be able to catch anyone. And Nitro does go, or the impact does go out. Zoro going to take a bit of damage there, but not going to be able to see much there other than just kind of giving his position away. Replay with the Nitro prepped. Going to get caught on the door frame. Not going to be able to get any kind of damage off of that, unfortunately for him. Trying to catch those head-eye angles with the shotgun, or with the shotgun DMR there. Replay going to be taking a bit of damage here. The plant now going down for Allison. Zoro going to be able to take one, but gets refragged by Whitey. And now the plant going down. Whitey trying to hold on to the plant as much as possible, but Allison is going to get off the plant now. Not having as secure of a position to plant. Going to try to go for a plant once again. Flash is going to come out. It's not going to bounce quite right, but it's going to stall just in time for the plant to go down. But Whitty going to be going down in return. Now a 2v1. The flick onto Strobo.
Oh!
It's now a 1v1. 35 seconds. Replay is going to have to make the move to try to push Allison out here by the stairs. He has at least somewhat of an idea where he is. Going to try to go for a fake plant here. But I don't think Allison's buying it. It's like he knows that he's not going for it. But there's the Astral Commit, able to get off the Fuser, but is able to finish him.
Oh my
He's gonna have
god!
plenty of time to finish this out as Replay able to successfully counter defuse and win that round narrowly in favor of Element.
Beautifully played. Ended up on 1 HP at the end of that engagement, but realistically, what does it matter? That man actually managed to get himself out with a bait plant, and it's so incredible. Like, as much as I wanted to just quickly answer back, you said it might not be the pick that they imagined on that run out, but I think it's less about the fact that they managed to get the hard breacher and more the fact that Blakey at the moment on the attacking side is the top fragger, and with how frag heavy this map has been so far, as I said, taking out that top fragger early and someone with so much utility is absolutely perfect for being on the defensive side. And I think moving into the next round, maybe even a couple more rounds after this, if the attacking side are actually able to get some footing in this game so far, I think we could be seeing a lot of these sort of like frag potential picks actually going the way of, well, the attack. Because if they're able to just isolate these players that are going for the aggressive plays, the runouts, whatever, because no one's really ready for them with how new the map is, I think we could be seeing a very different game and a very big turnaround coming into the remainder.
It's possible. It just really all depends on how they get this going. Because so far, they've gotten, like, Before Effect has gotten really close, but Element just able to turn it around every time. Klesry able to get a spawn peek onto Allison, still holding all the way in administration with Shimizu helping to cover, take out Aaron. They've got this all denied so far with 2 picks, and they still don't even have administration. Still fighting it off. The Nitro going to be able to TK one of them, but there's still one administration. The Repellent comes in. Shimizu going to be able to take Maxi out as well. And now it's already a 2v4, not even a minute into the round. The administration push falling apart, even with the Nitro TK. It's not looking too good here, although Blakey trying to put some direct side pressure here, but very separated from Whitty here. Well, not anymore, but it's going to be one creeping down slowly. Yellow stairs holding very patiently. It could go either way with replay with shotgun pistol out. Her back turned. Gonna take some serious damage. The shotgun pistol not gonna be able to do enough damage here. Now very hurt. Shimizu gonna be able to finish off Witty with the pistol whip. Now down to a 1v4. Blake gonna be able to take one. Gonna be another on yellow stairs. Shot's gonna reveal the position. Still pistol whipping. Is gonna be able to get that pick. No, he gets down. Now down to a 1v2 situation. With another one on yellow stairs with Zoro to be able to finish it off.
Yeah, beautifully played on the defense right now. I just don't really know what else to say. It's like we're watching everything just unfold in favor of Element right now. They're being able to find these sort of crucial picks, and when they're able to actually isolate these players, get these crucial picks, get their footing in this game, and really just get themselves an advantage, they play so confident and so well. You saw that spawn peak in the earlier part of this round. The Warden played bait next to the windows after falling to very low HP from the book. The Mozzie was able to, or Shimizu, the Mozzie, was able to quickly isolate the player on the far window of the Finker, and that was absolutely perfect for the defensive side, because the moment they were able to isolate that player, they could throw the C4 over to open the other window, give an angle to the Mozzie in order to be able to take the engagement against the book on the swing in. And even though, yes, they lost that Warden in the making of that play, I think it doesn't really matter, because the Warden's done his job, he's got his spawn peak. Even if he gets his trade, he's got no real utility that's going to actively play a part in this game, because they didn't bring any of those like flashing utility other than maybe like 3 flashbangs. And they're not really going to do a lot other than burn maybe an ADS or some of my magnets. And that's where things start to turn, in my opinion. Maxi with a beautiful quick headshot on the reverse spawn peak onto Shimizu. And now we're going to be seeing a bit more of an engagement come out as Maxi nearly finds a second onto Klesery.
Yeah, playing really aggressively here. Not paying off so far, but with such a massive differential, shoot, who cares? And I just want to say for last round, Element got way more than they bargained for trying to hold that. They know that they tend to repel the administration going for that top down, but being able to wipe out half the team like that, that is, I mean, that's a golden ticket that you don't usually get. So much commitment for it to fall apart such a heavy fashion. Allison's going to be taking some damage onto that spiral counter swing. Still up, though. Going to be another one by the window, doing some heavy damage. Allison very low, but not out. Klesery doesn't have a knife, so going to have to hold out this window. Try to take this pick. The rotate out. Knows exactly where Ash is, but going to be likely rotating out here after sustaining such massive damage. A lot of outside presence over by Repels and Window so far. Just trying to cut him off with Witty to able to take replay out. It's now a 5v3 as they've kind of swung themselves to death. Element has. Not looking the best with Strobo going down as well.
Indeed, they are just going to be applying a little bit of pressure back and forth. Allison finds another, and this is exactly what the side of Before Effect needed. They've managed to find those players, they've found those opening picks, and they're just going to be able to get themselves into much more favorable positions coming further forward into this round. Mute hasn't seen the ace. He's walked past him in the corner. He secures a kill for himself, turns around and manages to find it, and now we're in a 2v2 situation. Almost a very big blunder from the defensive side. I almost lost my mind.
That was unbelievable. Witty going for a try to go for a quick shot here. Gonna take a bit of damage and in return, the flash gonna go out. Zoro completely out in the open. Witty gonna be able to take that. Now down to a 2v1 with Klesery. Gonna have to try to clutch this out just like last time with the Cade. 35 seconds left. They're gonna have to go in and plant. Eventually the flash is going down, but it's Warden. That's not going to impact him at all. That clone's going to give away his position. The prompt swing from Aaron. Great positioning and coordination of intel on the side of Before Effect. They're not out quite yet. They still got some ways to go.
Oh my goodness. They're not out of the woods yet. No, definitely. But with how almost... If Ace hadn't gone on his drone there, this would have been an entirely different round. It would have been so much more dominant from the side of Before Effect. And with them being able to really translate another round into this, they're going to have a lot more confidence coming into the remainder of the game. Alongside that, they're going to be looking to isolate more of these players, because that's what they did that round. They went for that roam clear, Obviously, they were playing a first floor site, so it was a little easier to do so. But something that we have seen from both of these teams so far is not really a lot of that vertical pressure coming out on this top floor site or the bottom floor site. We've seen a lot of horizontal pushes, and I think with how effective it was for Replay to go that sledge, play underneath, more than likely, if we're able to see that come out and come into fruition for the side of Before Effect,
10 seconds
we
left
could see a
before
couple more
insertion.
rounds coming their way.
Possibly. And but the thing that scares me is that I feel like that round was more of Element just kind of, like I said, swinging them to death rather than really Before Effect, kind of cleaning up. Although I will admit, though, at the end of the round, their setup and their team play there and how they took advantage of intel and immediately went off of it was great. They did that so well between Witty and Aaron there. That was outstanding. But I still believe that there's a good chance Element will close this out because of the fact that a lot of those picks were just kind of given out by just overly trying to take every fight under the sun, which Element I'm sure knows that they can do that and get away with it because they're at such a massive round advantage. But if they can't curb that attitude of doing stuff like that, then absolutely, I think Before Effect will come back. But I feel like after losing that round, we're going to see Element kind of lock it up. And I mean, we've already seen it right now. It's 2 minutes, no picks quite yet. Although everyone is an admin and in the building.
Mozzie. I can see the Mozzie below in Visa already. He's hovering around in there. They've obviously got cameras bringing along him as just in general. He's going to be playing underneath. He's got a C4. I'm imagining we're going to see a man disappear soon. And there it is.
Here it is.
Shimizu finds Allison.
Called it. You called it. Yep. And he's gone. Klezer going to be able to take Maxi out as well. Look at that. You play a bit slower, and now it's a 2v4. However, Blakey going to be able to catch Shimizu, but Strobo going to take Blakey out as well. Now all up to Witty, all alone, and with no diffuser. Are we going to call it game? Who knows? Strobo going to take some damage here. Same as Replay. Close to the door. Going to be going for that swing. A double swing, and he's going to get caught in the process. And with that, that is going to be game with Element taking it in a violent fashion for the last round.
I mean, yeah, indeed. They managed to secure it for themselves, and it was almost so good from the side of Before Effect, actually managing to get themselves a relatively decent comeback on that first floor site. And I think if they're able to just really play that vertically, they probably are able to come out of that round with a win. They would have cleared out the Mozzie inside of Visa, especially if they enter through the corridor or yellow side. They're able to move themselves over a bit more methodically inside that upstairs. And I just think that when it comes down to Consulate as a whole, you need a bit more of that roam clear. It's a much bigger map. There's a lot more of those sort of ratty corners. You need a bit more thorough droning. And these horizontal pushes aren't really going to work very well for very long.
Yeah. And that's the thing I want to point out as well. Yes, it may have been a 2-7, but just because of, or despite that, I don't think that really speaks to Before Effect negatively in any way. We've seen how a lot of those rounds were able to play out closely and both have very violent and close quarter coordinated setups, executes, counterattacks, what have you. Honestly, for Before Effect, it's just a matter of locking a few things up, kind of adjusting a few things. But otherwise, I mean, they played really well. Both teams did, with the way that they were able to coordinate and take advantage of their positioning, their intel, and the snappiness of how they responded to the situations that were presented to them. That adaptability and their ability to adjust was really good on both teams. I mean, sure, Element consistently would, overtake in the end, especially with some of those clutches that we saw. But I mean, honestly, I feel like if Element had a bad game, was having a bad game, that game, it really could have went either way, honestly.
I mean, yeah, definitely the case. It's like, it's exactly as I said. The sort of vertical pressure just wasn't there for either team, and when it was, it worked amazingly. And because we're not really seeing that, the teams are kind of struggling, and there's a bit more of a defender favor. But I think as the map comes a bit more common in the map pool, and a lot of teams have a lot of different strategies for it. There's going to be a lot of new counters, and I think the map will slowly level itself out. But for now, that's going to be all from us until our next game, which are going to be Pulse versus Minions. We'll see you guys again very soon.
See you in a second.
Hello and welcome back to ESA League Season 7. I'm joined once again by Piercing.
Hello.
We are just quickly, unfortunately, informed in the downtime we had between now and the previous map that Sevens have been our first team to be confirmed eliminated from the group stage. They have no way of actually making it to the playoffs or the next stage.
Yeah, until next season, Sevens, you did your best, but that's it. Standings really quick. Unfortunately for Sevens Esports, they had a -9 round differential, only being able to accrue 2 points. So it's over for them. I don't believe we'll see them again in matchups, but even if we do, I'm still kind of learning all the leagues. I'm in so much stuff, I swear. They're not gonna be able to accrue enough points in order to come back. So they're officially out. Before Effect still kind of looking a little scary too, with only 1 point above them. AGM seeing a bit better, but with Pulse Nation Minions and AGM, it's really close for securing those other slots as well. But before we go further into kind of this upcoming match, I've got a few announcements I need to make for our scheduling. Sunday's November the 12th match has been moved to the 14th. We're doing this in order to avoid overlapping with the major finals. That will be Group C, Week 4. And then Stage 2 will be starting on the 20th of November. That's the week after Stage 1 ends. So those are the schedule changes. Like I said, mark that down. 20th of November, Stage 2. And Sunday's match moves to the 14th. All right.
Also, don't forget that Group D's Playday 1 is still being played, as far as I'm aware, on Saturday the 11th. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll be able to see some pretty major upsets out of that group, because at the moment I'm pretty sure like the top 4 are like relatively confirmed.
Yeah,
So
pretty much. But with that being said, we do have players coming in. We're still waiting on one team. A lot of their players were still missing, but let's go into the map bans really quick. Let's see what we got going on here. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a change up. Going to have Clubhouse. Now tell me, how often do you see Clubhouse? I know all the time. Great. That's awesome. I was kind of hoping that was like a less common kind of thing, but honestly, I'm not too surprised. I like Clubhouse because it's like a great filter. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows how to play it. Everyone knows what they're doing. It really comes down to a coordination diff. Like I wouldn't even say so much coordination. It is do you know where you need to be positioned? Do you know how to actually properly time things to push from different fronts? And for the teams that don't know how to do that, they get curb stomped. They get absolutely curb stomped.
I believe a lot of the map comes down to like mid-round adaptability, how you're able to alter where you are, what you're doing, the way you're playing, and the way you coordinate as a team in order to be able to isolate the enemy and basically outplay what they're trying to do to you. And I think that's where like the big part of like win or lose for this map comes in. And I mean, so far for the side of Minions, we have seen them play Oregon twice. Both times went to overtime. And we've also seen them play Clubhouse once. They won 7-3 against AGM, who are currently positioned below both Pulse and also themselves. So not really a factor that can really play into how this goes. And I mean, on the other side, Pulse haven't played Club this season so far. So we have no real major information on them. But I imagine we'll be seeing a couple runouts, especially considering that's been a very big part of the major and things like that. I keep going back to the major, but it's like a lot of these teams are doing things that are from the major. I guarantee you 90% of those Clubhouse strats were taken from the major. And it's just like, once again, we're going to be looking at Clubhouse. It's going to be one of those things. I think, yes, it'll just come down to the very minor sort of micro movements that the teams make throughout the game.
Yeah, no, I very much agree. But with that being said, let's take a look at these teams that we've got. Let's see who are going to be who our players are going to be for this match. Starting with Pulse Nation, we've got Schnitzy. I like that name. Emic, I guess.
Lamar.
And Mal, yeah. You want to do this? You go ahead. I
Sorry.
give up.
We have Schnitzy, Lamal, Lamankai. We also have Lightsea, Beans, and Durners. They're going to be the roster for Pulse. They have been together for a little bit now. I think a couple players have been like kind of moved in and out, shifted either way. But overall, the general core of this team has stuck together since at least the last season, which was probably the first time I saw them. And I think when it comes down to how they play, they have been a team that has been able to get real upsets. And that's something I'm really looking towards, especially considering they were a lower placing team and they were an underdog in the previous season. So looking at them coming into this season and being second in their group against, yes, the team's had massive changes, but against Minions as well, who is the team that won last. It's one of those where you kind of look at it and you can only be proud of how far the team's come. And I think more than likely coming into this game, we could see a genuinely big reform coming from them into this game compared to how they were last season against Minions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Minions, for their team, we've got their captain Alex Northey, Arab, Drills, Tom Fight, Rashaya, Pwned, Hagrid, Hagrid, and Harin the Pool.
I feel like that name's supposed to be screamed like Hagrid. It just sounds like a war cry.
No, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a shout from Skyrim, like Fusroda!
Yeah, exactly. Well, we
God,
do
I
have the
love
social
Skyrim.
vote on screen. We've got a 70% social vote for the side of Minions, and that's something to be relatively expected with how dominant Alex Northey has proven his roster can be, even though they are statistically substantially weaker than they were as a roster before. But now with their new team, their new roster, they're looking to prove themselves. They're already in third place in their group, and we'll have to see if they can topple second place and bring themselves up into that sort of second place position just under Element.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out as well that's going to be making this match a lot more interesting, I believe we got this information as well. Whoever wins this upcoming match between Pulse and Minions, they're secured. That's it. Like, they are going to be moving on to stage 2. So there are some mighty high stakes for this match between Pulse and Minions. The victor of this match is going to be pretty much in the clear. They're in. It doesn't even matter, right? So
I think if this goes regulation, then the team that wins is secured. But I think just working it out a little bit in my head, I think if this match goes to overtime, both teams are secured.
Interesting. Well, we'll have that information for you once we get that game or get this game taken care of, and we'll have to see when we come back to this group whether or not they're going to be secured or if stakes are still on the line. But either way, regardless, there is very high incentive for both teams to win this out. So even though it's a more popular map, I feel like we're going to see some very specific strats coming out, considering what is on the line here. And with how close the standing is right now, like I said, or like we said before, Pulse Nation, Minions, and AGM all having the same scoring, that ability to secure in highly contested grounds is so important.
Yeah, I'm also getting a little bit of inside information from my team leader Exia, as he says that Zach Gaming actually played against Pulse I'm assuming today, previous to this match coming forward, in RSX League. And they actually won 7-3 against Zach Gaming, who have been a very good team in their group. As much as, yes, they are in that 4th place position right now, they have had some very close scorelines against some of the more well-respected teams in this league so far. So I think coming into this match, Pulse are going to be very warm, very ready to be able to take this forward. I'm not sure what map they played, but I think that either way, Pulse actually are coming into this with some kind of advantage with actually being able to play against such a formidable team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I think we're gonna have a close game. I mean, you got prior season champion versus Pulse, who are going up against some very well-respected teams and coming out on top. I think we're gonna have one very interesting match, and for the standings to be close, there's a reason. It's not a coincidence. But with that being said, we do have a bit of a delay in getting these next matchups in. So we're going to go on just a very brief pause, and then we'll come right back and right into the game. So we'll be right back. It'll be just a few minutes. All right, and we are back. We're going, like I said, straight into the game on Clubhouse. We're going to be starting with Pulse Nation on the attack, Minions on the defense here, and someone just left the game.
Alex Northeast rage quit already. Team leader down, boys.
No, you can't be rage quitting. This is your competitive match. You haven't even died yet, assuming he dies anyway. But with that being said, we are starting off with some pretty basic bans. We got a Thatcher off the board, a call from Minions here. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin, and we're not gonna have to rehost.
Habana Rosa. Do what I dare you. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Come on, we all knew that was coming. But yeah, what we were kind of talking about off stream is that I find it interesting that despite the stakes both of the teams being able to qualify for the next stage if they win. What I find interesting is despite that, they still pick a map that I like to call a filter, right? It's a test of, do you have your coordination right? Do you have the team play right? Because there's no real, variance in like map knowledge, whatnot. Everyone knows these maps. Everyone knows Oregon. Everyone knows Clubhouse. And to an extent, although there's a lot of variances in how first floor is played, Everyone knows how to
Final
play
ban
Chalet.
Solace guaranteed.
Oh, come on. It's got to be Solus. We're going
Yeah,
standard maps.
I've
Yeah,
got every single
boy.
ban.
Every single ban on the dot. The only one I probably would have missed is Fenrir because, like, all this newer stuff, like I said, I haven't played Siege, like, actually played Siege in, like, a year. So, like, kind of figuring where he sits is kind of, or he, she, they, I don't know. I'm just going to say they. They sit, is kind of tough for me to make the call. But, yeah, we have been seeing a lot of Fenrir bans. And we're going to be starting off on basement.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Fenrir is one of them operators that's quite oppressive, and I mean, he's also one of those operators, he's one of two right now that are extremely good for holding rafters on this map, and it's a matter of whether you're willing to push into those keeper barricades or you're willing to try and deal with those smokes and stuff. And realistically, the keeper barriers are a lot easier to deal with, especially on rafters. In a lot of other situations, you would want to ban out that as army, but banning out Fenrir, if you're specifically looking to ban out an operator to make the rafters push easier, Fenrir is probably your option, especially considering you're probably going to be taking a Monty that way, and you really don't want a Monty just not seeing the smoke canister that's just appearing behind him. So, yeah, it's one of those operators that it's just very easy to take off the board. We are going to be seeing Panda go upstairs, and I really don't like this play, or Pwned. I don't know if it's Panda or Pwned. I'm going to say Pwned, because you said
that
Pwned,
sounds right.
And it's just a bit of synergy, I guess. But something I have spoken about before is the way Warden's played right now. There are some teams that will continue to play Warden as a roamer, and there are some teams that are heavily against it, and it's like almost like a cult. Because it's like, when it comes down to Warden, I do personally believe that he should very much have the Aruni playstyle right now. He's one of those operators that is a 1-speed, has a very powerful gun, a very good gadget for the late round, and realistically, you just put him down behind a shield, and he just kind of sit there being a sentry turret for a bit. Like, I think he is a very good operator for a playstyle like that, and that not really being utilized by a lot of these teams is a really big mistake. But him being a roamer, as I said, some people really like it. But the vertical pressure coming out for the attacking side right now, and it looks like Ying's going to try and take a push in through dirt piercing.
Yeah, so far it's just a lot of free presence, and roamers have been very passive on the side of minions. We haven't really seen a whole lot pushing out. We do see Pwned finally out by bedroom hallway, starting to push slowly down the second floor, but both teams playing very safe here to try to keep their lives right now. Wondering if this might just be the pace that we're going to keep up. And we've seen Ying banned a lot, but Schnitzy open by the door, going to be ready to set that up for an execute. We got a massive flank coming out here. That's going to be Beans down. Another Nitro going down. Not going to be able to take much damage. We got one over in bar. That's going to be Yana trying to creep up. Mankai trying to take him. Not going to be able to. Tomfight taking some heavy damage. Rushaya taking Dermits as well, with Alex on the pop as well. That's going to be bar down. Mankai getting taken down. And that's going to be pretty much the execute. Fully shut down thanks to a very patient flank from minions, and now all up to Tomfight, who's stuck in a corner, a rock in a hard place.
Yeah, beautifully played by the side of the defense here. It looks like they're going to be really just coming out with everything they can, firing on all cylinders. The mirror from below, just going to be cleaning up that final kill. And it's one of those where you saw very, very aggressive sort of plays from the defense, especially towards the later end of the round. They were just trying to take as many gunfights as possible, and they even tried to do a double swing onto the kitchen door. But I mean, that could definitely be like the sort of detriment of this team and the sort of downfall if they are too aggressive and play too far into these sort of aggressive peaks, because they could end up just getting themselves caught, and that's not what you want as a defensive side on Clubhouse.
No, absolutely not. And but it remains to be seen, because that's the thing that is so well, is that minions, at least their defense approach from what we see in the first round, it's like a ticking time bomb, right? You're just waiting, right, for the attackers to get comfortable with their setup, get hyper-focused on getting rid of utility to get an execute going, and then you just pounce, right? And we saw that, right? Anchors staying alive despite the vert, but just sitting right close enough that when the time to strike comes in, they can come from all angles, and there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, forcing gunfights in unfavorable positions. And that's what we saw, just a huge collapse onto Pulse Nation, which I think was very well done. Usually you don't want to give away control, but that just paid off.
Oh my god, Mankind! A beautiful little spray through the wall manages to secure the player that was just hovering around on the door. That was insane. It looks like the Thermite's going to be coming over to try and open that up now on the actual main breach, and the knock from below is going to be the one to try and clear that out. But as the mute actually comes wandering down the stairs, manages to secure that kill, and now are they going to be aware of each other inside of stock and main? Yes, they are. Lightsey finds that kill, and it is just going to be trades both ways, and Mute's going to be falling off his angle, so no one going to be playing too aggressively onto the remaining players of the attack, and they are just going to be able to get themselves open and pressured in towards CC.
Yeah, right now, not looking the best for our defense here, losing 2 people and only 1:30 actually taken out, as they're pretty much all going to be on site prior to this execute. We do have one over by Khan, which is a major funnel to push through, and with the kind of intel denial that they have, it's still very doable from them. Oh, but the repel from the roof, Bean's going to be able to catch Alex. This is not looking good for minions here, with the anchor, or with only anchors remaining and so many outside. But you got to remember, Jim and Benjamin is very easy to turn around because of how deadly those anchors are. As long as Harin DePool doesn't give his life away, that should be a good chance. But the nade taking Tom fight out, full HP. Now it's up to Mute all the way in Jim. Not going to get spotted here, but going to take a little bit of damage. And that chip damage is really all it takes. Is Shitsy instead just goes for a headshot, taking him out and giving Pulse Nation their first round win as well.
That's crazy. Such a dominant round 1 from the side of Minions, and then a return to such a dominant round 2 from Pulse Nation. I am absolutely amazed at how well that was executed by the side of Pulse Nations. They lost the opening kill, I'm pretty sure. No, they got the opening kill, but then they lost the trade. After that, the Mozzie tried to take the push onto the player in stock, who was ready for him. They secure that kill, 2 players down. They slowly execute through on the CC side through cons to try and see if they can apply a bit of pressure to the site. The mirror gets caught by a nade from below. Alex Northy gets caught by a window swing onto a man that was on an upside down rappel, being baited by the Ash. And then the final player gets, well, they clearly had information on him because they caught him out with a nade from below at first that didn't quite find the frag they were looking for. And then they just get the spray through the wall.
Yeah, this is what both teams are doing so well. It's just that, like, Minions, they have that really good kind of pouncing mentality. But when they're not ready for a bait and switch from Pulse Nation, they shut them down so hard and make all that free control that they give, trying to push them out, backfire immensely. That's exactly what we saw in that second round.
Yeah, just not prepared for the methodical take from Pulse Nation. The way they were able to just get themselves in the building, slowly make their way across the top floor, pressure out these roamers, catch people out on the little bait swings that they were going for. And it does look like this Mozzie drone is going to go unnoticed and may even get some really good info for the players playing above the hatch.
Yeah, and they got the hatch top too. They can put a nitro there, pre-place it, wait for them to cross over that, and pop it right then and there. I see that a lot often, especially with that kind of information. Pool going to be getting spotted here. They got one by Raptors, they got one by CCTV. Going to be falling back now. Schnitzy's got that wall open. Good call, but not all the way. Still holding over by Cash Room, waiting for one to push up, but they've already gotten to the window. They've got information on his location. A lot of shots coming in from the feed hole. However, Mankai going to be able to take Rashaya, trying to cover, but not going to be able to there. Now with not even a minute left, already 2 picks back and forth. But right now, it's still a matter of getting into cash, moving up, and trying to secure control or construction, which is much easier said than done. Like I said, those funnels, our numbers are a bit even. But the thing is, Pulse Nation is really good at calling out where Minions is going to be hiding and flushing them out. Ooh. And we see just that with Harin DePool barely making it out while getting blasted open barely able to sneak out. This is that thing I'm talking about here, with minions calling out those, or I'm sorry, Pulse Nation calling out those positions.
This is being so well played from Pulse Nation here. Mankind nearly loses his head if the trigger was just pulled by the Wamai at one point in that scenario, but he's going to be trying to take the swing, manages to secure the kill in the end, and the player on the rappel is going to fall not long after, but a trade comes out from Lightsy onto the man in Gym Corridor, and now we're going to be seeing a bit more of a tussle between these two teams with the 2v3 left remaining.
Yeah, it's not looking too good with that massive exchange of trades. They really didn't gain much control. In fact, losing control over construction. Now retaking it after contesting Azami a little bit here, but they've got to push out from here. And with the Nitro coming out, going to be able to catch Schnitzy still outside. I'm telling you, that construction funnel is so deadly, and they just cannot make their way in. Little headpiece going to give out Azami's position, but the swing from Tom Fight, it didn't matter anyway how much of Azami was exposed from the metal as they catch him off the balk. I'm telling you, if you can't get through construction, you're going nowhere. It doesn't matter what the numbers game is. That's what makes that site so interesting. And where I say that your ability to pinch out and position yourself properly is so important.
Indeed it is. We are going to be looking at a basement arsenal site. As we are going to be returning down to where they were so dominant before on the side of minions. I think if they're going to be if they're going to be dominant anywhere again, it's going to be this site in particular. But we do see a vigil on the Boss G running around the map and possibly making a little bit of a name for himself as he's not running that KIA.
Yeah, that's something you don't see every day.
Yeah,
to say the
unique
least.
decision.
Personally, I love the Boss G. I mean, you got a slug, you got a lot of damage. I mean, it's just a good gun to ego the hell out of somebody. But the thing that sucks about it is, though, with the way that gunfights play out nowadays with a bunch of pre-firing, you can't really do that with them. Oh, wow. No sights either? Honed. That is... takes guts to do that. We're going to see whether or not that pays off at all. Honestly, at this point, I feel like that wasn't even on purpose. He just forgot to switch it out. There's no way. There is absolutely no way. Or maybe there is. We'll see as they start to push in through Freezer's side. Gonna have one over above on the hatch. Pone trying to get aggressive. Drone is gonna spot him out, kind of, as he does conceal himself. We don't really see Vigil a whole lot. At least not from my experience anymore with the current state of the meta. Drone still persisting, waiting to get that information out on exactly where Vigil is, but not going to be able to. They know that he's nearby, trying to cut him off, and there's a scan going to be pointing out exactly where Vigil is here. Going to be forced to fall back, and with no one over by construction side, at least not yet, other than a soft wall there, he's going to be able to get away scot-free. However, with one quickly moving up to garage ramp, they could potentially catch him here if he's not properly prepared, but without a proper line of shot from Mankai, going to be able to get away relatively scot-free. Starting to move up again. Trying to be aggressive here. Try to hold him back on above. Has stalled for a good amount of time. No loss of life on either side. And a minute already lost. Almost a minute and a half now. However, Pone will inevitably get shut down in the end by Mankai as he tries to make his way down the stairs. It's not looking... It's looking a little slow right now. Despite the stall.
A minute 40 into the round, you've still got a minute left. You're starting to open up these vertical angles, and this is realistically prime time to be doing so. It's something that you see a lot in sort of more the pro scene and things like that. You see this sort of later half of the round, start getting those vertical angles open, and I mean, you've got the RAM to do so, so you can get them open as quickly as you really want. The Bucks now starting to make angles through onto the mirror windows and also armory. So we'll be seeing a little bit out of him coming into the rest of this round. He does have those two can openers as well. Mankai finds one more, now 5v3 on that blue side. And it looks like he is just going to be opening up the stock hatch and seeing if he can get himself through into blue. The Candela's coming in through the Jackal on the main stairs falls to the mirror. The swing comes out from Lightsy as he takes the hatch drop. Mankai finds another. and now it's going to be a 1 versus 4. Not many people I've seen clutch out situations like this, but Tom Fight in a perfect situation to do so. Perfect positions as he comes around on the swing onto the buck, finds Lightsy, and now we're going to be in a 1v2, looking much more winnable. Plant goes down, Schnitzy on the Ying, still going to have a Candela in pocket. Is he going to decide to use it as Beans is on the cover fire on those boxes? He takes his rotate over towards blue. No one's going to be looking in through the actual sight rotate itself, and he might actually get himself through and round onto the way here, but Beans on the angle gets the kill for himself, and that's going to be the round for Pulse Nation. Almost very close after being a 5 or a 4 versus 1.
Yeah, no, he was able to make some good progress, but that cutoff was way too strong there. And I find it interesting how, despite all of the annoyance that we saw Pwned putting onto Pulse Nation, that little thorn there, they pretty much just ignored him and were able to know exactly where he was. They had a cutoff and still continue to get their setup, because that was pretty much the only roam presence they had. They did such a good job on locking up the basement to where they were isolated, and that created a situation in which Pwned either had to do something, get aggressive, or he just ended up being a complete nothing burger, where Pulse Nation was able to continue to set up and eventually flush out the rest of minions. And when he did try to do something, that's where he got cut off. That was pretty much the problem that he was dealing with, is the fact that they were able to isolate those two groups, him as a sole roamer and the rest of the anchors, so early on that even though he was continuing to be a thorn, they tried to flush him out. They failed multiple times. It didn't matter because he basically just didn't exist to them.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, on the Vigil as well for that round, it's like bringing along the boss G didn't really have much impact. Just kind of sacrificed himself very early into the round to try and get the kill onto Mankai and lower garage, and it just didn't really go well. So just already losing a player that early for them in that round as well was already a pretty big detriment. So switching that off and going instead onto that Mozzie, who's instead going to be hovering around the oil pit in favor of that initial position, is still going to sacrifice himself to that same player that makes his way in through garage every single round. It is going to be Mankai to pick up the opening kill once again, and I think that's 3 opening picks for Mankai in a row.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with minions right now, but that's not looking good. And usually on defense, unless you have a very strong setup, which right now, as far as like just anchoring down sight, I would not argue that they do. You know, this is not looking too good. Usually on defense, you want to have 3 roamers, 2 anchors, because you have anti-rush composition. And right now, the only anti-rush he's got is Harinda Pool. Otherwise, they don't really have anything in that regard, unless you count Mira for that function, but I would disagree. So right now, what we're looking at is a situation where Pulse Nation has free domain to set up as much as they want before actually executing. And since Basement only has so many places you can hide in, they pretty much have all of the information that they need, because there's not a lot of places you can hide either on a map like this, especially when you got vertical up. This is not looking good. Minions is going to have to really pull something out or be aggressive with their utility in order to deny this. And with a minute remaining and having so many locations that they can push in from, being able to collapse, Minions is in a lot of trouble here. It may be a run-around differential, but they got to lock it up fast or figure something out, because they are running out of options. However, we will see Alex able to take that initiative onto Lights, but it's still far from over.
Yeah, the impact trick on the hatch as well, just missing out as Mankai tries to take the swing onto Harinda Pool, but Harry manages to get that for himself instead. The swing onto the Wamai on those black boxes inside the back armory is going to almost go the Twitch's favor, as just get a little bit of a swing onto the Goyo. Goyo now going to be 1 HP in that back box area. And now, with the trades coming all the way back for the side of Minions, they actually are able to get themselves secured for this round, getting themselves up to 3-2.
That is so insane that they were able to just force all of those fights. They had cutoffs, they had angles, they had setup, they had everything. You cannot just lose fights back to back with like that with no refrags. That cannot happen. And that's what I was talking about before when it comes to Clubhouse being kind of like a filter. That kind of situation that I was talking about, not properly positioning yourself, is exactly what's losing minions, or is losing Pulse Nation rounds there. Like, you can't do that. You had everything you needed. All you needed to do, make sure you cover yourselves from refrags and flush them out, and they just didn't do that. I mean, well, good on minions for recognizing the severity of their situation and taking the initiative, taking the fight to Pulse Nation, but that just should not have went as favorably as it did. That shouldn't happen at all. So I don't know what Pulse Nation needs to do on attack, because they've got their setup. They are punishing, at least strat-wise, how minions is setting up heavily. Anchoring as much as they did, I still believe was not the right play. I think that they did a good job of getting their setup as fast as they did and holding on. But afterwards, when it came down to the actual fighting and actual executing, they had nothing. They just kind of sat out there and gave minions the opportunity to push out. That can't be happening again if they want to win.
Yeah, I believe that like being able to sort of bunker on the site in the clubhouse basement is a very prominent strategy among a lot of teams, and I think it can work very well. But when it's played sort of like a little more sort of static and things like that, it can be a bit of a detriment. Obviously, we did see the Goyo getting quite aggressive to get the early pick onto Mankai and sort of equalize the man count, maybe even give them a man advantage in that situation. Nades coming flying up the red stairs from the man of the hour himself, and he is just going to be making his way through, trying to get the pick onto this Aruni. There's a little bit of a tussle back and forth, but Pwned is actually able to secure the kill for himself. And now we see these players in Garage trying to get aggressive alongside it, and Durners gets himself down to 0-6.
Yeah, the counter aggression from minions, very well played, playing together and being able to take two out in one go with them not even having that cash control. Very well done on minions, but creating a problem for Pulse Nation, because they still are going to have to sacrifice even more if they want to get this control. And we're going to see Pwned actually be able to take Beans out as well. I think that was a run out too. But with that being said, it's now down to a 2v5, and they haven't even began to make their entrance onto construction yet. However, they're finally going to get that wall open. With 1 minute, 10 seconds, they do have a lot of time here. However, with the many crossings they have, it's going to be difficult to make anything happen. We're going to see one get taken down, now down to the last two picks from Schnitzy, but going to get caught out as two more proceed to push in violent waves.
Indeed. As we saw, they got very aggressive during that final pick and that final sort of engagement. That's completely fine. But something that's just kind of going wrong for Pulse Nation right now is they're trying to isolate these 1v1s. Obviously, Mankai had a lot of sort of prominent frags in the early stages, and it just didn't really go their way that round. But I do believe that you see a lot of situations where there's a lot of star players, maybe in T1 teams, that sort of thing, that just kind of like really struggle on one half and then out of nowhere just go insane after the side switch. So I think that even though Durners at the moment 0-6, kind of struggling, I think he can definitely make some sort of turnaround / comeback to try and re-find his footing in this game and secure his team a little bit of an advantage. I mean, a 4-2 half isn't exactly unheard of on Clubhouse.
No, and it absolutely is not unheard of, and it does happen quite a lot. It's just, like I said, it's the way that that 4-2 came out that is interesting rather than the fact of the matter itself. And I mean, Pulse Nation does have a good chance to come back here, but it just really comes down to, you know, how they deny minions, because their answer on attack was, well, they didn't. They would often get caught out, at least Pulse Nation would, by minions. And I feel like that's what we're gonna possibly see again, is, you know, some individual roamers just getting flushed out. But who knows? Hopefully we'll see something different there. So I mean, it's still very winnable, but I feel like Pulse Nation needs to make some adjustments in how they're positioning themselves.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, as I was saying, it's like turnarounds happen all the time. I don't imagine a world where we don't see Durnez actually be able to have a round for himself, but at the moment he's just kind of struggling. Maybe it's potentially like the burnout, especially after playing such a long match. I say long match. It wasn't really that long. It was a 7-3, but already playing a comp match just previous to this one inside of the RSX League could definitely be playing effect on their mental, and even maybe just affecting the way that they actually want to take the rest of this game going forward. There is going to be a K-trick on the hatch. Placement comes down for the breach, and it does go off. Cade almost having to make a very narrow escape there as he tries to leave through the door, but takes a while to fall off the box.
Yep, still going to be able to successfully get that hatch open. Right now, they're getting a lot of that setup here, but no actual presence so far. Moving down main stairs, moving down blue stairs. They've got a good positioning in order to really cut them off. And with one on their back turned to her in the pool, we could possibly see a massive push up from Twitch here into blue. But right now, there's still not a lot happening yet. Still holding on for that final execute. Candelo is going down to Monty drop now coming in to shield into play. Schnitzy going to be able to nitro out Tom fight. We're going to now have that church control. Durney's able to get pwned down from behind the shield. Now Nitro going to be dealing some heavy damage. 30 seconds remaining, and they don't really have an opening. Kind of banking on that shield, and they're just kind of bouncing off one person. However, we're going to see Herrindapool take out Maokai. Herrindapool going to be able to take another on a double kill, almost a triple kill, onto another there. 3v2, 10 seconds left. They're going to have to make a move eventually. Monty's going to have to plant. Twitch is going to have to try to get her way in somehow. But right now, they have not been successful. Going to be able to pistol whip from behind. But with it being a 1v2, he's going to have to go for that plant. But he is completely vulnerable to the Twitch or the mirror coming up to finish the job, but gets off.
I mean, indeed, he was just unable to get that plant down in the end with Twitch, unable to really apply adequate cover. And that is going to secure another round for the side of Pulse Nation. As I said, in theory, it's not the end of the world if this match goes to overtime for either team. Because as we've already discussed, if this map goes to overtime, both teams are confirmed for the next stage for their group. And if this goes to a regulation win, one of the teams could genuinely suffer in the later half. So both of these teams are really looking for a win, and it doesn't really matter how it comes.
No, absolutely not. But I don't know. I just see it's so interesting because Minions was so strong in that first half, but that execute was just almost non-existent. They kind of just waltzed in without really a plan. They weren't able to flush anybody out initially. In fact, losing 2 once they initially dropped down. So yeah, gonna need some serious adjustments from Minions after that first round. But hey, that's usually how it goes. The first attack is never usually clean. That's pretty much how it is.
Definitely so. At the moment, with the first attack not really being clean, I do genuinely agree with you. But it's like when it comes down to the side of Minions as a whole, they're a relatively fresh roster coming into this, and I think that when it comes down to the way they have to try and play out this attack, it could be the fact that their coordination just isn't really up to standard and really not making the room necessary that they really need to be able to find themselves a foot in this game. But we do see Sledge of Harindapur just making his way into stock. Looks pretty confident at being able to sit on his drone there. Not going to be peeked from the hatch by the looks of things, as Pulse Nation seem to be just holding on to their positions quite firmly, not really extending out into that CC cache side. But Beans finds one on the pwned, and now we're in a much better position for the side of Pulse Nation on this defensive side. Obviously, they still have a ways to go, as the can opener goes down on the wall, but it's denied by the mute jammer. They don't quite know where it is or how close, how far away it's going to be. It is just right underneath the window here as they do manage to get it off and open that hole. And now they have to expect or deal with the man watching over the keeper barricade through that cash wall, as the gridlock of Tom Fight is just going to be trying to get some track stingers down inside of logistics.
Yeah, so far, not making any significant moves. They do have this cash room and an opportunity possibly to walk into construction, especially with the Monty on the board. Alex, they are going to be able to take that. This is looking a lot better for them in order to win this round. Now having that control pushed all the way up to Stash here, putting Schnitzy in a very bad spot here. However, Impact going to go out. Another Nitro going out as well, trying to get rid of this Monty, but with cover from the roof, that's going to be Lattice down. Another one possibly down as well. We could see a 3K here. They do get a fallback. However, still not in good position. Trying to pistol whip with the hipfire, is able to get it out and takes Schnitzy out as well. However, the melee able to take one out. Wait, was that with the kunai?
No. That's just the Zami's melee thing.
Oh,
it's like how Zero has the Krambit.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, I was gonna say that'd have been really, really funny.
It would have. But I mean, it was very well executed from the side of Minions. It looked very, very good at the beginning of the round, but unable to convert the opening pick they found for themselves into an actual round. The Thinker on the gym window, taking out the Thinker very early. You take 2 nades straight away off the board, and you also take out those adrenal surges. And they're a really big factor in the way the game's played at the moment, especially with Gridlock and Thinker just getting nades. Thinker getting nades again, as she did have them before. But Gridlock and Thinker both getting nades means they're both pretty heavily played right now.
Well, naturally, that's what we expect. Nades have been a name of the game for the longest time, and they continue to be. Remember when Ash had nades? I think that was a thing very early back in the game.
It was like year 1, year 2.
Yep, sure was.
Like you had nades until like year 3.
Yeah, give her nades back. Seriously, I would love to see that. But anyway, with that being said, we are going to be seeing a heavy garage side push from Minions here. So far, still able to maintain their lead. Only 2 more rounds to go until Minions once again putting themselves high in position for winning this season, or winning a season yet again. Hard in the pool, already having that control of stock, and with no one really to contest it, he's got a lot of first floor control that can be huge for some cutoffs here. Now back over to bedroom and gym, all calm and steady over there so far, just waiting for that inevitable push for Shia. Now getting that control over to cash room, but still no real contact made just yet. Everyone kind of sparse and far around so far, for the roamers at least.
Indeed, it does look like there's going to be a bit of pressure from Pwned on these sight windows. I believe it was him on the Thinker in the previous round. Did kind of get his head taken off through the closed barricade. But speaking of getting their head taken off, wasn't a headshot, but Harinderpool finds the opening frag onto Lightsy.
Yep, that's going to be just one thorn as far as roamer presence goes. They still got one more, and that's going to be Dernise here. But right now, not much accountability for her, even so much as her location could be a major headache. However, Mankai going to be able to take out Pwned, just further denying that positional control there. And with no refrag either, very unfortunate. We got the Nitro ready from Dernise, Mankai, and Schnitzy able to take 2 respectively, devastating that push. And with one more Nitro still on the board, or in the pool, stuck over by that VIP area. Nitro goes off. We're in the pool, now out, stuck in that corner. Now
Jump
up
out
to Tom Fight, out by the back. Oh yeah, we can expect some runouts here in just a second. But hopping back into CCTV, gonna try to see if catches one, but meets a nasty crossfire instead.
Yeah, Mankai dropped off the bed for a second. I thought he was gonna go for that jump out. He looked like he wanted to. He did just sit there and hold it for a minute, but obviously the gridlock, he would have heard her jump into CC, and he just anticipated her coming around for that swing on the wall. Managed to find that kill, and now we see Pulse Nation once again just clawing it back. They're always staying like a foot behind But
Defenders,
they're doing a
protect your
pretty
bombs
good
from being
job
defused by
of trying to
attackers.
keep up with what's going on the opposing side right now. And I believe that Pulse Nation could genuinely bring this to overtime at the bare minimum if they really want to. But it also could very much end 7-5 in either direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If they keep it up, this is still very winnable. A lot closer of a match than we had anticipated prior to, I would say pretty close. But either way, we're gonna see a
75%
similar.
social vote for Minions, by the way.
10
Yeah.
seconds left.
We're gonna
But
bring that back up.
Yeah. But with that being said, we still have a pretty similar composition to what we saw before with that kind of Miragoyo anchor heavy setup, a little bit of stall with Denise on the Wamai here. So probably not going to see too much for Rome. We do have one over by Stock or West Ma- or East Stairs. I'm so messed up right now. East Stairs holding out over there. Could be a potential massive flank like we saw at the very beginning of the game, just kind of waiting and then sinking in that flank. Or it could be like what happened with Pwned, where just got isolated, cut off, and was just not able to do anything. It really can go either way here, but we are going to see some very, very early vertical thanks to Pwned onto the kitchen hallway there. So far, not looking too bad here, getting all of that vertical down and not even getting denied for or accounted for in any way, shape, or form. Getting a lot of setup here, but this could be what we saw again, the calm before the storm, or just another case of banking on something that just never happens. Remains to be seen.
Definitely so. We do see Schnitzy just hanging around underneath the floor there, just watching that kitchen window, just in case anyone tries to do anything freaky. But the IQ just spotting out the Cade Claw. They know where it is. They know where it's going to be. And, I mean, realistically, if this Cade's smart here, he will Cade trick on the opposite side of the hatch to try and actually anticipate it, but doesn't decide to go for the Cade trick in the end and actually just lets them get the hatch open. Obviously, IQ going to still be spotting out the gadgetry underneath.
Yeah, right now, taking it real slow, getting these hatches. That's the thing that's been kind of unfortunate for Cade. Both teams have been bringing Cade a lot, but those hatches still get popped regardless every time. Just not having the impact that they're hoping for. Bone could be holding by Central Stairs. Goyle's going to be starting to go off here, but a little bit too early to be sending those off as they've now made their way down blue with a minute remaining. This nice shot from her into pool, taking Dermise out on the swing. Now down to a 4v5. Execute starting to go underway as a drop from Alex. Now putting that immediate pressure onto Church. They got two into Church. One with the shotgun. We're going to see a run up. Trying to push up against the mirror. Going to get shotgunned out instead. Nitro goes out. Not going to be able to take out Monty. Does a little bit of damage here. 3v4. So somewhere to go. The pre-fire to cut off. Taking Lattice out. Now Alex going for the plant here. Now up to Schnitzy and Menkai, who's promptly taken out by her into pool. Going crazy with the DMR and the shutdown from Tom Fight above on the main stairs to finish it out for another win for Minions to bring it to match point.
Yeah, 6-4 on the side of Minions right now. Realistically, they can sacrifice another round if it really doesn't go in their favor. And returning to this basement site is going to be one of those situations where it very much could go against you. But I also think that
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
with
defused by attackers.
the way the side of Minions are actually playing right now, they have such a slow first sort of area of the round. And I'm sort of going to compare it to the way Wolves have been playing recently as well. Because Wolves had a very fast start of the round, which is kind of stark opposites. But during the mid-round, they both sort of sync up a little bit where they slow down, they go a bit more methodical, they do what they need to do, they open up those hatches, they get themselves positioned on the stairs, and then during the final maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, they just go in, balls to the wall, trying to take these engagements, trying to get that plant down, secured on the floor, and just opening it up with frags. Is exactly what they're going for, and that's really all I can see right now from the side of Minions. And I think if Pulse are really able to isolate that and play around that, we could see a very different game, especially considering they're only 2 rounds away from this overtime.
Yeah, so close yet so far away. Opting to go back into basement, and we even have beans on the cap can as well. I'm really curious whether or not they'll actually see any picks there. We also have pwned on the sense. Now that's not something I see every day. I still hold the belief that sense is unbelievably weak, but hey, maybe they fixed it, maybe they didn't, probably not. But we'll see whether that's going to have the impact needed for them to win this out. Mankai holding this very aggressively. The swing out for Rinda Pool. Going to be able to take him out as he swings all the way up to the balc window for garage storage. Able to take him out. Going to see a little bit of a foot there, but rotate out from Lattice here all the way in utility room. Could go for a major flank here if he so chooses, but second to throw a disc, try to hold out for blue as much as possible. That sense, providing a line of cover to block him out. Nitro coming in to try to catch Rashaya, not going to go through. Going to spot that cap can, so not going to have that impact there either for Pulse Nation, unfortunately.
Not there yet. We do see these breach charges. A very fun trick that some people still actually don't know about is placing those breach charges while crouched. The C4 rings out, manages to get the injure onto Tomfight, but placing those breach charges while crouched, as I was saying, opens up that floor, and especially if you position them right, obviously that one wasn't quite low enough, they can actually open the top of those walls, giving you angles into armory from above.
Oh yeah, it's what makes it's unfortunate it's not known as much, but like you said, it is such a strong line of sight that just makes holding basement even more difficult. There's so much play around in that kitchen hall area. 40 seconds. Minions playing this a bit slower. They've gotten a pick. They're slowing down. They are just waiting for that opportunity to strike. Going for a similar monster strat we saw before the EMP comes down. Now dropping down. Going to be holding Immemorial. Going to be revealing himself. They know where he is. Gets out the cap can. 25 seconds left. Cut off due to the Goyos, and with the time remaining, that might actually be a massive problem here. Dominguez gonna be able to catch out Pwn for being able to drop down or do anything vertically. However, Rinda Pool trying to take those fights. Smoke's going out. Tom Fight gonna be able to catch Lattice over by the rotate. Alex still alone, and with 7 seconds left, he's gonna have to take this fight. Not able to make it. The trades come in. 2v2, still close to the diffuser, but are they gonna be able to pick it up and get the fucking plant? Plant does go down, but in a corner, they're in a very vulnerable position. Able to take one. Rashaya now down to a 1v2, but Rashaya will be able to finish that out with the post plant completed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Minions winning it out, although quite narrowly to an extent, 7-4.
Yeah, very well played from the side of both teams, as they really were able to fight tooth and nail back and forth. But the thing we have to really consider now is, are Pulse Nation safe? Their round difference has declined from that 7-4 loss. At the moment, we won't be able to see it on the match scoreboard, or not the match scoreboard, the actual standings themselves. So there's no point in going to those. They will be updated fairly shortly. But their round difference has gone. Oh, they are updated now. Their round difference has gone down by 3, taking them down to 7 rounds, I believe, in their round difference. So +7. So I think they can't be overtaken by the 2 bottom teams.
Possibly, yeah.
Which
right
should confirm them for stage 2, or the next stage.
Hard to say. It really, it really just depends on how they play the next match. If they absolutely bomb it, then I don't really know. But I think you're right. They should be secured. But nevertheless, with Minions winning that match, they for sure are absolutely secured into Group A. So with that said, we've got 2 teams now confirmed for stage 2, and that's going to be Element and Minions, with 10 points for Element and 9 points for Minions, respectively. 6-round differential, 8-round differential. So, yeah, I
do have confirmation. I am correct. Pulse are now also confirmed. They can't be overtaken by either of the bottom 2 teams. So our top 3 teams inside of this group are now 100% confirmed for the next stage of ESA.
Yep, that's our teams. Pulse Nation, Minions, and Element for group stage. With that being said, That's going to be our standings for that. And we kind of covered our announcements for our schedule changes. Nash, do you got anything else for us here?
Just one that I say pretty much every stream. If you want to see more of me, I do stream sometimes whenever I feel like it.
I don't.
Twitch.tv/Naj. You can see me there if you want to see me suck at Rainbow Six. I managed to reach diamond this season. Thanks, love me.
Wow, the shameless plug. Well, it's my turn. I don't stream very often. I mean, I used to. I really should. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm more known in North America, so I do stream at a bit of an awkward time for you guys. But for those late nighters, you can find me at Piercing DN. Don't ask what DN stands for. And you can find me on Twitter as well at PiercingR6. I'm always goofing off on there, and you'll probably see some of those shenanigans on there. But with that being said, that's going to be it for both of us. Thank you for watching the ESA. I'm Piercing, and this is Naj joining me for this cast, the absolute GOAT. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you at Group B. Take care and have a good night, everyone. Well, afternoon for me. I'm about to hit the gym.